started on the beach more than a half-century ago, has evolved into NASCAR's biggest race. Today, we will set the grid for the 55th running of the Daytona 500. For most, it's all about starting position. For others, it's about the dream of racing on this big stage. Welcome, everyone, to the World Center of Racing. Kyle Petty, it is race day.
It is race day after a long winter. 2 races for these guys to figure out where they start the Daytona 500.
In 2 races, that means 2 drivers will still go to victory lane. Even qualifying races, it's still about winning.
And NASCAR race day, fueled by Sunoco, starts right now!
Over the centuries, men have settled scores in combat. For country, for pride, for love, for glory. Warriors, gladiators, soldiers. They fought beasts, fear, and each other. Today, modern-day warriors battle at NASCAR's most famous track. For years, these heroes and their crews have dueled at Daytona. Men different from you and I. Thrill seekers, wearing oil and gas cologne. Their steel chariots, instruments of precision. And like the warriors in times past, they thirst for danger. They put themselves in harm's way, their resolve unflinching. They battle today not for flesh or blood, but for bounty. Who will conquer the final races before the season begins? Who will win the duels?
Today, we will find out who starts where in the Daytona 500. Welcome, everyone, to NASCAR Race Day, the Duel Edition, fueled by Sunoco. On this beautiful day in Central Florida, the Budweiser Duel will answer several questions, but still, many remain, like how will the car handle in the pack, and will these guys get out of here unscathed? Pretty soon, the playing around will be over. There are young guns, veterans, everyone trying to get out of this race unscathed, but also at the same time, take home a trophy and a big paycheck. Welcome, everyone, once again to NASCAR Race Day, fueled by Sunoco. I am John Roberts alongside of Kyle Petty, Kenny Wallace, and Larry McReynolds. And Kenny, this is always fun to kick off a season with these qualifying races, but we're going into these two with huge unknowns.
These dual 150s will be really hard on these drivers, very tough, and here's why. The drivers will be on edge. It's hot today, but Larry Mack, listen to this. 2004 champion Kurt Busch has wrecked out 2 cars. He's only got this car left. So, Larry, it's going to be really hard. Do they wreck? Do they finish? What do they do?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. First and foremost, they're short races. They're only 60 laps. We've got the hottest day of Speed Week so far. This 2.5-mile track, she's getting hot. And she's getting slick. And I just believe for one of the first times since this racetrack was repaved over a couple of years ago, the 2 drivers that get to go to victory lane, they're going to talk about how good their car drove all day long.
And I'm going to go back to what both of you guys said. Racetrack's hot and slick. They're going to be sliding around. Kenny's talking about Kurt Busch tearing up cars. Since the introduction of the Gen 6 at Daytona, from testing to the Sprint Unlimited to today, they've torn up 26 race cars.
What?
At Daytona, 26 race cars, and all the practice and all the testing and everything they've done. Is today going to be exciting? I would say yes.
That's a lot of metal.
I would say yes.
But, you know, so far in this Speed Weeks, we have already witnessed history in the making, as Danica Patrick will be the first ever female driver to start the Daytona 500 from the pole position. But also, she's the first female ever to start any Sprint Cup Series race from that spot. It got national and worldwide attention, but right now, the question for Danica Patrick is this pole position so important for her to actually start in that position? Can she risk anything today, Larry Mack? Because if she wrecks, she will go to the back of the pack in that backup car.
Well, there's no question she needs to be smart. But you know what? Male, female, she's a racer. And you better believe that girl's going to race today, because she's got the same thing today that she had on Sunday in qualifying. She's got a fast race car. And I watched her in practice yesterday. She got out there in a big pack. She wasn't intimidated by being there. And in fact, late in that practice session, she drove away from a pack. Yeah, I think that yellow line, the inside of the racetrack, it's her best friend, but you better believe that girl's going to race today.
Oh, my gosh. Did I just hear this? people are starting to agree with me that Danica can drive a race car. Good job, Larry.
That's Kyle. This is Larry.
Let me say this. Danica should race today, but take no chances. I can't believe anybody else that sitting on the front row would take any chances, even Jeff Gordon. It is a big race. They will go for it, but Danica is on. She's first. She can't go any worse. Just run this race today.
Yeah, and she came here. She made history. She sat on the pole. Do you think that's all she came to Daytona to do, was to sit on the pole for the Daytona 500? She came to race. She drives for Stewart-Haas Racing. Tony Stewart, the guy that races more or as much as anybody out there. He's a racer. She's a racer. We're going to see her race today. I think the biggest thing today is for her to learn this car, get in a pack, and understand what it does in the air.
Agree.
And Rutledge Wood is now standing by with the woman who made history and also the driver who will take us to that green flag. Rut?
I'm with that driver that made history on Sunday, Danica Patrick. What's it going to be like today? What's your strategy? You're starting first in the duel, qualified first for the 500, big day.
I want to lead every lap, and that way I don't get into any trouble. And have Tony be right behind me. If we want to swap for a second, whatever.
Totally cool.
Yeah, because I feel like I'm safe with him there. So start on the inside and have Tony right behind me, and hopefully we get off to a nice start. Basically, I asked Tony Gibson, what do I do? Because, do I race hard, just let it be what it is, or do you get out of it at some point? What do you do if it's a green-white checkered at the end and you're not in the lead? So he just said, you run up front, run hard, race the leaders good, go as hard as you want, and as soon as you get shuffled back for some reason, just, drop to the back and observe. And, I don't think you're necessarily any more safe back there or a lot safer anyway, but at least you're not adding to the drama in the middle. So, hopefully that's the way it goes, and, what will be, what will be. I hope we're fine, but if we're not, then that's what happens. And we got 500 miles to figure it out from there.
That's it. Now, what's it been like for you to take a week ago when all anybody wanted to talk about was your personal life, for you and your team to accomplish this great, I don't know, that you enjoy Coke Zero, but tell us, what's it been like to make that jump, and now everybody gets to talk about the great. You made every newspaper. This has been a big week.
Yeah, I've always said that the media follows the on track, and that happened. And I know that my personal life was a big story to some people, but and in general, they got a lot of questions about it. So it was nice to have something bigger, even bigger, happen on track. That was very cool, and a lot of people can be proud of our Sunday.
Good luck out there. Have fun.
Thank you.
That's Danica Patrick, pole sitter for the Daytona 500.
And Rutledge, that is one of the many reasons why many people will be watching this race in the 500 as well. Now, this can get a little bit confusing, so follow along with us how the lineup is set. The front row has already been determined. That is Danica Patrick and Jeff Gordon. But then, Larry Mack, after that, positions 3 through 32 are the top 15 finishers from each dual race.
Well, yeah, and it actually would be the top 16, including Danica Patrick and Jeff Gordon. But then you see the 4 fastest that's remaining, basically Ryan Newman, Casey Kane, Trevor Bayne, and Tony Stewart in the top 6 in qualifying. They knew then they were going to be locked in by speed should they not race their way in.
Then the top 6 remaining cars in owner points. Position 43 will either be the past champion, which would be Kurt Busch first, Terry Labonte second, and also, if they do not need that, the 7th in owner points, Kenny Wallace, will take over after that. And here are the drivers who are locked in.
Yeah, what a famous front row, and look at the drivers that are locked in. You're going to have Danica Patrick and Jeff Gordon on the front row for this Sunday's Daytona 500, Kyle Petty.
Yeah, and we don't have the top 35 anymore, and I applaud NASCAR for taking the top 35. When the car count went down, the fastest cars need to be in the race, and that's what we have here in this qualifying session or in these dual races.
Well, one driver who was fast on the racetrack but still has to race his way into this event is Austin Dillon, and he is with Wendy Venturini.
Thanks, Johnny. Of course, he's attempting to make his first Daytona 500. He was fast in qualifying, as you mentioned, 16th. We know you have the speed in the car, Austin. You're in duel number 2. How does that change your strategy for today's race?
Well, we'll watch duel number 1, and hopefully by the end of duel number 1, we're in it, so we can really go out there and try and win the second duel. And if not, we'll have to play a little strategy and take the Honey Nut Cheerios to the front somehow.
All right, so we just heard from Danica Patrick. I got to ask, who rocked the cowboy hat first, you or Ricky Stenhouse Jr.? And have you been mistaken for Ricky?
No, I haven't been mistaken for Ricky, but I don't think he has his on right now, so.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, I'm rocking mine.
All right, rocking it for today. And do you think we're going to see a lot of bumping and banging, or are people going to take it easy with this whole side draft we've been hearing about and the air moving the cars around?
I think you'll see a lot of action today. You know, it's when it comes down to it and that checker flag's in the air, everybody's going to be going after it.
All right, well, good luck out there. I know everyone will be watching duel number 2, but especially Austin Dillon, because it will determine whether he's going to race hard or take it easy. Johnny?
Wendy, thanks a lot. And you can get involved with us on the subject of beating or banging. Later in race day, you can be part of our first live vote of the season. Use a mobile device or computer. Go to speed.com, find us on the NASCAR on Speed Facebook page, and let us know what you think. Will the big one, the big wreck at Daytona, be in duel number 1 or duel number 2? You let us know what you think, and we will tell you the outcome of that vote in just a moment. It is simply gorgeous in Daytona today, and that has brought all the race fans out from here in Central Florida and all over the country. So right now, race fans, it is your time to rock our Allstate Mayhem meter. Let's see if we can't do that. Well, they did pretty good. We'll get better as the day goes on. Coming up on race day, we all know where Danica Patrick will start the Great American Race, but today we will find out how the rest of the starting grid will look on Sunday. Plus, we'll look at how this new Generation 6 car is performing so far. We'll be back with much more in just a moment. NASCAR Race Day is fueled by Sunoco. Visit SunocoRewards.com and find out how you can save 5 cents off every gallon you pump. Brought to you in part by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. And by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds. Welcome back, everyone, to Daytona. You know, each of those 10 championships for owner Rick Hendrick started right here during Speed Weeks at Daytona. And the fans who have come out today are in for a treat. We simply don't know how these cars are going to handle in this draft. And the drivers don't know as well, so many unknowns going into this. One thing we do know is by pole qualifying on Sunday, we set the order for this duel, the 2 duel races. Let's take a look at who is starting in race number 1 this afternoon. Of course, the pole sitter, Danica Patrick, is joined by Trevor Bayne.
Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's going to have to go to the rear of the field for the Budweiser Duel engine change after issues yesterday.
I'm looking at Casey Mears because Casey is not locked in. He's back in the points. Casey's going to need a good race starting right there in the 4th row.
Montoya, the 42 to the rear 2, had engine issues on Saturday.
Both Hendrick Motors.
Yes.
We go back in the field, we see Carl Edwards, Martin Truex Jr., and Jimmy Johnson.
And Carl was in an accident yesterday afternoon, fixed that car, so he does not have to go to the rear. But as we go back through there, Kevin Harvick, who won the Sprint Unlimited the other night, we know his car races good. It's not been very fast, obviously, by qualifying, but it races well.
Michael Waltrip starting 16th. A shout-out to Michael, not because he's on Speed TV. He's driving the Newtown car. A lot of focus to root that car and get a good finish.
And a 2-time Daytona 500 winner. Now, before in the past, we've always talked about race number 1 or race number 2. Which one would you prefer to be in? But, Kyle, there's no real difference this year.
I don't see a difference. I mean, not, you know, you remember how we used to qualify and it was like there would be slow cars and there would be faster cars? There doesn't appear to be that. But I do believe the first race sets the tone for the second race.
Yes, if I had a choice, I would rather be in the second race today. Why? We've talked about it. How much hotter and how much slicker this track's going to be. You will be able to watch and listen to teammates and see what characteristics this racetrack has, and maybe even how things go as far as teams that change tires. I would rather be in the second one today.
Let me say this. I've never been able to come down here and just be automatically locked in the Daytona 500. This race tears your guts out, tears my guts out. But I want to be in the second one. Why? Because I know what I have to do. You watch that first one, you're like, okay, now here's what I have to do because that guy's in. There's been these wrecks. The second one is the one I want to be in, JR.
So now let's take a look and get you, the fans, involved in what you think about which dual race may have the big one in it. We say we might see it, but now you can vote alongside with us. Guys, you've seen the starting lineups these 2 races. See if you can sway the meter, Kenny. Which one's it going to be?
Well, it's going to be the first race because they don't know. They have to set their own destiny. Larry, listen, here's what I think. The big wreck will be in race 1, Kyle.
And I can't guess because we've been down here a million years, and how many times have we seen it, Larry? The guys in the first race go out and take their brains out and just drive like maniacs. huge wrecks in the first race, second race is calm. Then we see it where the first race is calm, and the guys in the second race say, my God, the racetrack must be really
Hey,
good.
the fans agree with you guys. Fans agree with you.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I believe we will have a big wreck in that first duel. And then I think a lot to Kyle's points. I think all the drivers in the second duel look and go, oh, my gosh.
That's right.
All that carnage. And they're a little
They'll calm
calm
down
when they get into their race.
And that is your first bullet. That's your #1 race car. You don't want to wreck it, and you certainly don't want to go to the back of the pack.
No, sir.
Some of these guys don't even have a backup car right now. They got to call back and go, hey, any cars for sale in Charlotte? We wrecked all ours.
Now, if you were with us last year, you know we used to shut this vote off after our first debate. This time around, we're going to keep it open. You can keep voting. Let us know where you think that big one will happen today. Duel #1 or duel #2. Let's now take a look at the starting grid for duel #2. You, the fans, thought that this was going to be the safer race, and so did our panel of experts. Here it is, Jeff Gordon and the Rocket Man, Ryan Newman, starting on row #1.
Well, and what I look at right away is I already know the big boys are locked in. There he is, Austin Dillon, right there in row 4. He is not locked in, so that's going to be somebody to watch.
And to our fan vote question, Austin Dillon said in his interview, I'm going to see what happens in that first race so I know what I have to do in the second race.
And Mark Martin, he just wants to get to the end of this duel race because he wrecked the car in practice, he wrecked in the Sprint Unlimited, and got damage in a wreck yesterday in the first practice session.
Well, it is now time for us to go down into the garage area for our AT&T news break as we take a look at the last starters for duel #2. It's Blaney and McDowell back there as well. But now let's go to our race day news break. Wendy?
Well, thanks, Johnny. NASCAR Nation, you should enjoy today's afternoon of the Budweiser Duel because after today will be a long time before we possibly even see an afternoon duel race. Daytona announced just moments ago that this will become a night race in 2014. That's right. No more excuses to take off work on the Thursday of duel day. You folks will have to go to work and come up here on a Thursday night come next year for the duel races. Rutledge, what's going on your area?
Hey, thanks, Wendy. I'm over here in the 88 garage. You heard a few minutes ago the guy said Dale Jr. going to the back of the pack after an engine change yesterday. Lost it early in practice. They changed, got back out there. 42, you heard, also lost an engine on Saturday. When something like this happens from a big team like Hendrick that makes motors for other people, it's a big panic wave. We're going to hear more about that later coming up from Matt Clark. Guys?
Rutledge, thanks a lot. That is 2 engines so far this weekend, and both of them have been Hendrick Motorsports engines, and that just happens to be what power is under the hood of our pole sitter. Beautiful day here in Daytona. More race day coming your way. Today, NASCAR's biggest stars return to the World Center of Racing for the Budweiser Duel at Daytona. Don't miss 2 white-knuckle races that set the field for the 500. The Budweiser Duel at Daytona today at 2 o'clock Eastern. It is live on speed, and you gotta love seeing the Budweiser Clydesdales, those majestic animals, come to the racetrack a lot, and they have some horsepower there as well.
The Clydesdales, you know it's a big event.
It is time to go racing here. Welcome once again, everyone, to NASCAR Race Day, the Duel Edition, as the teams are putting the last few preparations on these race cars because we're getting closer and closer to race time. The national anthem is only 37 minutes away. Sisandra Lewis will provide us with that. We will fire the engines in 43 minutes, and the green flag is less than an hour away here at Daytona. Well, the Daytona 500 is unlike any other race, so the qualifying procedure is one of a kind as well. So when it comes to racing out here in these 2 short races, the racing is one of a kind also.
2 no-holds-barred races to set the field.
The duels are some of the best races to me that we have all year long because there's no consequences.
It's survival. You have to get to the end of this thing.
What you don't want to do is eliminate yourself.
As a driver, it's a tough one. You want to go out there to compete to win. At the same time, you don't want to wreck.
Danica Patrick, hard into the inside wall.
Uh-oh, smash, Robbie Gordon. Crash,
no.
Trevor Bayne.
There's like the 2 little angels on your shoulder. The bad one's just saying, go, 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 don't worry about it, just race.
Contact!
Whoops, contact again.
The other one's saying, this is your race car, don't mess this up. And it's a good time to get out there and get warmed up, get a feel for what's going to happen in the 500.
It's a chance to polish on that Daytona 500 car, to make it better.
The fuse has been lit, and now it's time for those oh-so-magical words. It's time to go racing. It's time for the duel.
Race fans, it is very easy for you to get involved with us here on race day. All you got to do is log on to speed.com and connect with us. Facebook.com/NASCAR-on-Speed and Twitter.com/NASCAR-on-Speed. Let us know what is on your mind, and we may even use your questions or comments on the air. And this is just in from the Rocket Man himself, Ryan Newman, who does pretty much Twittering, but not as much as some other drivers. Pre-race tradition, he was visiting with the Clydesdales and the girls. And again, that's some serious horsepower there for Ryan Newman. He's hoping to have plenty more a little later on this afternoon. Now, race fans, you can also get involved with us on our fan vote. Our question today is, what do you think? Will the big one today be in race number 1 or race number 2 of the Budweiser Duel? Stay with us because so far 62% say duel number 1 is the one. The vote is still open, and you can get involved with us here on race day, your one and only season-long NASCAR pre-race authority. Welcome back once again, everyone, to NASCAR Race Day, fueled by Sunoco. The countdown is on before the world's greatest stock car drivers take to one of the world's most famous sporting venues, the Daytona International Speedway. The crews are getting ready, the drivers are getting ready, but what they're getting ready for, we still don't really know. There is a tremendous amount of unknown as we have the new race car, but it's a flashback to the past, so we still have to see, Larry Mack, how this car is going to handle in these packs because we still haven't been in this situation yet.
But I still believe in talking to drivers that they truly like what they see and what they're feeling in this race car. I think Martin Truex Jr. put it best. He said, you know, the last few years, there's not been a science to it. You just went up there and knocked the hell out of the driver in front of you and pushed it until basically your water temperature gauge said you can't push no more. He said now we have more control of this race car. We're seeing that side draft where that driver gets up beside that other driver and kind of pushes his way away from him. We're seeing that coming back into play, and we've not seen that in a number of years.
Now, let's take a look at what happened on the racetrack yesterday and more of the unknowns we're talking about, Kyle. It seems like that left side of the race car towards the rear is where guys are losing some downforce.
I don't know what the airflow is around these cars. I've not seen the wind tunnel numbers, but it appears that there's a dead spot right there on the left rear corner. Every accident we've seen has been with a car down on that left side of a car cutting across the hood or a dead spot of air, whatever it may be. Now, are you cutting down across the hood, or are the cars being pulled together? Is the air actually sucking these cars together and pulling these cars together? I don't know that yet, and these drivers are trying to figure it out. I saw in the Unlimited, Matt Kenseth side draft his way all the way to the front. What I mean is there was a line out here to the side, and he would come up and get a draft and move forward, come up and get a draft and move forward. That's something that we haven't seen in a long time down here. I think we'll see a lot of that if we get into two lines or somebody gets separated. But it's going to be a little bit different race than what we saw last year, but a little bit different than even what we've seen in the past.
Well, one of the guys who has his work cut out for him today clearly is Dale Earnhardt Jr., and he is with Wendy Venturini.
That's right, Johnny. Of course, we documented the engine change yesterday, but Junior, and just hearing from what you've already said about it, not any concern for you or the 88 team?
No, not really. We changed the engine, and things should be good going forward. We really would have liked to ran that motor that blew up in this race today because it's a qualifying motor. No, it's got a lot of good speed, but it'll be fine, and that's not the motor we would end up racing in at 500 anyway, so pretty happy with how things have been going this week. Other than that, pretty uneventful. Cars have been good. Haven't really had it in race trim and been around a lot of guys yet, really, but this will be a good test for us today, and hopefully we'll get through it all right. I'd like to win this race.
How racy will they be out there, you think, in duel number 1?
I think it's going to be real racy. I think there's a lot of guys, you know, with the new rules and, you know, the provisionals, no guaranteed spot, stuff like that. I think guys aren't really going to be doing the math. They're going to be going for it.
All right, your hands are going to be full, but have fun out there at Rutledge.
Hey, thanks, Wendy. I caught up with Brad Keselowski last year's winner. What was that question?
Is this a duel or a duel?
Duel. It's
duel,
singular,
like,
but there's two.
Like with a sword, or is it?
I think so.
Okay, everyone keeps asking me. I can't figure it out. It's the Gatorade Duels, which is supposed to be like a fight.
Now Budweiser, yes.
But there's two razors, or goats. Yeah. Well, I don't know that coming.
Well, here's a real question. This is the first time you're getting to actually race. You had to sit out there and limit. How you feeling?
I'm ready to go race. You know, this duel, whatever it is stacked. It's got. I think this is the best duel.
You're in it.
Yeah, well, that helped. But no, look at the field in it. I mean, it's got Dale Jr. in it. I think, is Tony Stewart in this one? I think he is. My teammate Joe Logano's in it. Denny Hamlin. Danica's in it. I mean, this is the good one, so I'm glad I'm in it.
Good luck out there. Glad to see you back in the car.
All right, thank you.
Johnny?
Rutledge, thanks a lot. You know, Dale Jr.'s strategy today may seem pretty simple. He's starting in the back of the pack because of an engine change, so it's drive through the field and do it fast. But there is so much more to it than that, and Matt Clark has that with his crew chief in our Sunoco Pit Strategy of the Week.
Hey, thanks, Johnny. I've got Steve Letarte here. Steve, you guys lost a motor yesterday. Have you diagnosed the issue, and are you concerned that you've got it secure for the 500?
Well, there's no concern moving forward. You know, I think it's when you come down here to the beach and try to sit on the front row, man, you push those things really, really hard. And I think it's just maybe a little bit left over from Sunday trying to go over the front row, but not a big deal. We've got a lot of confidence in this engine. We'll put another one in after the 150 anyway, and we'll run through the end of the weekend.
All right, well, you start the duels at the back of the field now. There's a long string of scenarios that the 88 could not be locked in. What are you going to do to race your way in to make sure that you have that comfortable spot in the 500?
Well, I think the goal today is to try to go win. You know, the practices aren't really that good for practice. The packs are much smaller. You're not really running with the guys or the group of guys that you probably will have to on Sunday. So we're going to go try to win it from the back. It's a great race. You know, everybody has to stop once for fuel, so there's going to be some strategy involved. I think it'll be a good show.
Steve Letarte with our Sunoco Pit Strategy today. John?
Matt, thanks a lot. Tomorrow, the world's toughest truckers hit the high banks for the can't-miss trucks race of the year. Strap in for 250 miles of wide-open racing and a fight to the finish that's sure to take your breath away. Don't miss the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series from Daytona tomorrow at 7 Eastern, live on Speed. Coming up on race day, we are continuing to get you ready for two of the most exciting races of the season. We will check in with Danica Patrick and tell you how she will make history again today. And we'll also show you the best moments from dual history over the years. This is day 8 of 11 days of Speed Week's coverage on Speed, and we're not stopping until they wave the checkers and the celebrating is done. Tomorrow, the Rednecks are running wild. John Reap and his Mullet Mafia pit American Muscle against Import in a 3-round battle for a $10,000 paycheck. Are you faster than a redneck? Don't miss a special preview after the trucks race tomorrow right here on Speed. And we also hear that our own Kenny Wallace gets in on the fun. Our views are provided to us by the DirecTV blimp from high atop of this Daytona International Speedway. And Danica Patrick so far has been the main story for one reason or another to start Speed Weeks, and then after she made history by capturing the Daytona 500 pole. But gentlemen, let's flash back to last year to this race as Danica Patrick was in it as well, and things didn't go so well, Larry Mack.
Yeah, this was on the final lap of that dual race, and of course she was on the inside minding her own business. What a lick.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. I will go on the record and say that she got wrecked all last year. Other men wrecked her. She did not cause it on all wrecks in the Speed Weeks.
So, of course, that wreck was a whole different story than a wreck would be for Danica this time around. If it does, it means that primary car gets wrecked. She goes to the back of the pack. And although she will still be the pole sitter in name, she will not start the race first.
She'll be the pole sitter for the pace laps. And that's what happens to you. And then you have to go to the back. She will be in the history book as the pole winner for the Daytona 500. And that's important. This is very historic. We can talk about Danica and talk about her driving ability, talk about the height, talk about whatever you want to talk about. But last Sunday, she went out and put that car on the pole position for the Daytona 500. That's historic, and she needs to get kudos for that.
But you know what? I listened to her interview a while ago. She gets it.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to be told what to do.
Yeah.
We don't have to analyze it. She understands the position she's in, that she needs to be smart, that she's got a fast race car. She's going to race, but if things look like they're not going to work in her favor, you know what? Again, key 2 words, be smart.
Exactly. Let's see what the fans had to say. We asked you earlier on in our live vote, which is still continuing as we speak. Which race do you think the big one will be in? And you overwhelmingly think duel number 1. Guys, they agreed with you.
And I'm going to tell you what, the wreck's going to happen going into turn 1. Somebody's going to get loose, getting into 1, and boom, going to wipe out 3 cars.
Talking to you is like playing pool. You're just calling your pocket right there.
Hey, you know what's been fun? I've been right every time.
Yeah, I
Every
think
time?
we look at history. I think someone was telling me last year in the first dual race, we had 3, 4, maybe 5 cautions, obviously a big wreck. I think we went caution-free in duel number 2 because those 22 or 23 drivers, they'll be watching the first duel and they'll go, ooh, that's not working out quite well.
and they will learn. So the vote is closed. 59% agree that the duel number 1 will be the one where we see the big one. For most drivers, today is about securing their starting position in the 500. But for some, after months of work and a ton of money, it's their one shot of living the dream.
It's time to go racing. It's time for the duel. NASCAR's most dramatic day, always filled with high hopes and crushed dreams.
It's not just the anticipation of who will win, but who will get in.
Crash! No. Triple A!
Burton will win it over Boyer.
Danica Patrick hard into the inside wall.
The caution and the checkered flag displayed for Tony Stewart.
Here they
are. Not over yet by inches at the line.
Johnson!
For those who have to race their way into the Daytona 500, it is desperation.
The day, the week, over for Michael Walker.
I mean, it just tears your gut out not making it.
I'm just, want to cry.
Brian Keselowski has raced his way into the 500.
You're in the Daytona 500!
Tears of joy and sighs of relief. That's what this race is really all about.
2 100-mile races determine how the 50-car field will line up for race day. Palmer hangs on to win it, clinching the starting spot for the 500. Fireball wheels into the winner's circle. The lead goes to number 27, Junior Johnson.
It's a great moment for Junior's pit crew and a great moment for him.
We have come to the mecca of stock car racing in the American South.
It's the Daytona 125 stock car race.
He's not going to make it because of the slower car.
Pearson does it again.
And on the high bank, Buddy Baker is the boy to catch.
NASCAR racing at its finest.
Bill Yarborough is going to win it.
Dale Earnhardt is pulled into victory lane. Bobby Allison has whipped half the field for the Daytona 500.
And the rookie from Indiana, it's Gordon across in first.
Earnhardt to win it 10 years in a row. He's won the Gatorade 125. Junior
Dale Earnhardt Jr. after going nearly 2 years without a win.
Casey Kane and Tony Stewart side by side at the stripe. Casey Kane.
Johnson.
Woo! Good job, boys. The checkered flag displayed for Tony Stewart.
All of the aerial coverage from Daytona Speed Weeks is provided by DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Great view of this historic racetrack on a beautiful day in South Florida. We are counting down to the Budweiser Duel, and it does not matter what you win here at Daytona. It's a big win. And you know, Tony Gibson was born right across the street at Halifax Medical Center, so it'll be huge for him to get a win with Danica here. He's already made some history. There's your Penske drivers. Denny Hamlin from Joe Gibbs Racing. Everybody here today has a different agenda, but the most important thing is to bring that race car home unscathed if you can't get the win in the duel. Well, Matt Kenseth has had a brilliant career with Jack Roush Racing. One of the most publicized seat changes in the offseason was Kenseth going over to Joe Gibbs Racing. He has 2 wins in this Daytona 500, but Joe Gibbs, as an organization, only has 1, and that was back with Dale Jarrett in 1993. And Matt is standing by with Wendy.
Thanks, Johnny. Not only does he know how to win the Daytona 500s, but he knows how to win the duel races that we are going to see this afternoon. You won the duel last year for you. Matt, how do you approach this race? You're in duel number 2, so you're going to sit back, watch with Jason. What are you looking for in duel number 1?
I don't know exactly what we're looking for. Just kind of watch the race, see how it unfolds with pit stops, pit strategy, kind of where the line is, just see if you can pick up anything from it. So the racing's been a little bit different. I thought Saturday night was a great test for us, our first race together. So looking forward to really racing hard today, seeing what we can learn, hopefully keep the car in one piece and adjust for Sunday.
Talking about keeping the car in one piece, we saw yesterday what the side draft can do. How far can you really push this new Gen 6 car in the draft?
I think the cars have been pretty good. I mean, most of the wrecks that I've seen have been from, including when I started, just from, driver error, just misjudging something and running into somebody. So I think the cars are going to be a little harder to handle today with this heat and with the bigger pack because they do have less downforce. I think they'll move around more. But, so far the wrecks I've seen anyway have just been from, kind of misjudging where the other guy's at.
All right, well, enjoy. You're going to head out in the lounge, right? Is that where you're headed to watch the duel number 1, or you got a better seat in the house?
I'm just going to bug Jason. So if he watches it in the lounge, I'm going to watch it in the lounge. If he wants to go up on top of the truck, we'll wander up there. So I'm just going to hang out with him.
All right, well, one thing's for sure, Johnny, he is dressed and ready to go for duel number 2.
Yeah, Wendy, a lot of eyes are on Matt Kenseth to have great success in that car this season. The 2013 NASCAR season is underway. Speed brings you up close and personal to all the racing action from Daytona. Go to speed.com for complete coverage, including photos, expert analysts, and live video updates during the race. Now, we know when Matt Kenseth comes down here, he comes down here for one reason, and that's to win this race. But he's got a whole new team around him, Kenny. That could either be really good or really tough for him.
Well, I'm catching a little bit of heat this year because I've gone out, not on a limb, but I'm picking Matt to win it all, the championship this year. Kyle, I think they're strong. They look good in the Charlotte test. And, I mean, you know, look, somebody's got to be brave and go out, and I said it.
Yeah, and why can't he win the championship? I think you look at Matt,
why not.
And I think you look at him. He's gone to a team that's contended for the championships consistently. Gibbs Racing has contended for the championships consistently with Kyle Busch and with Denny Hamlin. I almost pulled it off. I think Matt brings that calmness. I think he helps the whole team. And I think if you look at Matt's history through his entire career, he's the David Pearson of this sport right now. He just goes out, he gets it done quietly, he wins the big races, and he wins championships.
You know, but I want to switch gears to the races. You see these drivers, Danica Patrick, Trevor Bayne. This is a very monumental moment for a lot of race car drivers. And what I mean by that is, yes, there's only 45 cars, but there will be 2 hearts that are broke. Kyle, you know, me and you 15 years ago, there would be 15 race cars here, 15 haulers that did not make it, and they would all leave the racetrack tonight. So today, this is a very big moment for 2 race car drivers that are going to be totally heartbroken.
And Rutledge is standing by with one driver who's won a championship before and came awfully close to winning this Daytona 500. Rut?
That's right, John. That's Kurt Busch. So good out here at these plate races. How you feeling today, buddy?
Feeling good. You can definitely feel the intensity picking up. You know, it's Thursday, qualifying day, and we just need to have a nice solid run with our Furniture Row Chevy. It's been a little shaky to start the speed weeks.
Yeah, a lot of people talking about, you know, when we'll see the big wrecks today. I know for you guys are trying to still figure out these cars, learn as much as you can, right?
Yeah, I was hoping to be in the second race, but I'm in this first one, and what we haven't done as a group yet is go out there on hot tires. You know, we need to be out there 25 laps with hot tires and see then how these cars handle. So that's the big question mark above everybody's head.
Good luck out there today, buddy. Matt Clark?
Hey, I've got Denny Hamlin. Denny, what's the plan today?
I think the level of intensity will be slightly lower than what it was during the Unlimited, simply because we know these are our primary cars. But don't think for a minute you're going to see a bunch of single lane draft. And I think that guys are going to try to get the best starting position they can. I think handling will be an issue by the time we get to the end of the fuel run. So hopefully the cream will rise to the top by the end of the day.
Johnny, Denny's hoping to be that cream that rises to the top.
Remember when he was a rookie and he surprised us all by winning that Unlimited race? The energy is building here at Daytona. We are just moments away from starting that duel number 1, which will set the tone for today. Families of drivers are around watching closely, seeing what is going to unfold in this race number 1, and we got it for you here live on Speed. The countdown is on. NASCAR Race Day is fueled by Sunoco. Visit SunocoRewards.com and find out how you can save 5 cents off every gallon you pump. Brought to you in part by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. And by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds. We are just moments away from this Budweiser Duel race number 1, which will set the tone for today. There is your pole sitter for that race number 1 and the first ever female to win the pole for the 500. This is exactly the way Kevin Harvick started out the night at the Sprint Unlimited with the kid in the car. Maybe that'll happen again. Let's go to Rutt, who's standing by with Tony Stewart.
Hey, thanks, John. Caught up with Tony Stewart. Tony, we heard your teammate Danica earlier talking about you guys going to try to pair up, do as much stuff as you can. It's learning and trying to win all combined, right?
And defense at the same time. So, you know, the biggest thing for her is she's going to start on the pole of the Daytona 500 as long as that car comes back in one piece today. So, you know, the agenda for her is to go out and learn and not, you know, she has to show people that she's got strength, which she showed that in qualifying, but you can't just ride around in the race here and, you know, she's got to show people and get the confidence of the other guys and the veterans that she knows what to do on race days. So she's got to do that, but at the same time, be really careful with her race cars. So, you know, we're kind of in the same boat. I mean, I'm not real worried about where I start Sunday. The biggest thing, I feel like I've got a really good, Chevy SS here. So, we got Bass Pro Shop and Mobile One here, and I feel like we've got a really, really good car. So I'm not really worried about where I finish today, but it's a lot better if you can start up front. So we'll take it if we can. If not, we'll take what it gives us and get ready for a good day on Sunday, hopefully.
Good luck out there, buddy.
All right, bud. Thanks.
Wendy?
Well, thanks, Rut. We were at driver intros with Dale Jr. in the garage with Matt Kenseth moments ago, and now in the coach lot with Clint Boyer, obviously in duel number 2 because he is still in his street clothes. So what are you going to watch for in race number 1?
Just everything that everybody's going to be watching for, how these things perform. This is going to be the first test. I know the other night was, but they wrecked, 20 laps into it, never really got a full view of what to expect. So always, just like these duels are, the first one's, starts out pretty wild and usually has a wreck in it, and everybody learns from it, and the second one's a lot more tame. But, for us, I haven't had a chance to draft. I haven't had a chance to work with these cars, side draft. Now, all the things you've been hearing us talk about, it really looks like, from the little practice that I had, you really have to be tight on a side draft to get the advantage. And in doing so, you're pulling that car around, and you guys touch, and no more than they touch, they wreck. So I'm going to be learning a little bit. Obviously, you don't want to tear this car up. This is the best bullet we got, but it's time to get out there and learn.
Tony Stewart just told us it doesn't really matter where you start the Daytona 500. So are you more concerned about where you're starting or what you're going to accomplish about learning in the draft?
Well, here's the thing. The one thing, in my opinion, that I've learned is it's going to be a lot harder to get these runs and get yourself up to the front in that Daytona 500. So you're going to have to get yourself in position a lot sooner. And doing so, there's going to be a point in that race where you're going to have to race tight and run up through them. I'm going to figure out how to do it here in this duel.
All right, well, have fun watching, and we're about to watch duel number 1. Johnny, take it away.
Wendy, we have been waiting for months for this. The crews and the drivers have been waiting for years to see these big packs of race cars at Daytona.
Well, listen to what Clint Boyer said. He said the only way to pass is you got to rub on it, and all of a sudden that causes a wreck. When he goes into that other car, Kyle, we're going to have wrecks today.
There's a lot of questions that are going to be answered today. More nervousness, more anxiety going into this race than the Daytona 500.
And we are ready to go racing. Right now, the Budweiser Duel is live on speed. We're not sure what we're going to see, but we know it will be exciting. Stay with us, everybody. Sit back and enjoy the race.
The road to the Daytona 500 picks up speed, and a whole lot of it today, as Speed proudly presents the Budweiser Duel at Daytona. 2 great races to set the entire field for Sunday's big event. The front row, and only the front row, was set last Sunday when Danica Patrick landed the lap around the world and made history in the process. Danica becoming the first woman to ever win the pole for any NASCAR Cup Series race. Now there's a chance, a slim chance, that Dale Earnhardt Jr. might not make the field for the Daytona 500, and that is why today's Budweiser Duel at Daytona is just so important. Brad Keselowski, the defending series champ, standing by. We are standing by trackside for today's opening ceremonies for duel race number 1 at Daytona.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please rise and remove your hats as Patrick Air Force Base Color Guard present our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Pastor Ronnie Barton from the First Baptist Church of South Daytona offers today's invocation.
Let us pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this beautiful day today. We thank you for our country and for our military. Lord, we thank you for today because this is the greatest weekday event, a sports event of all. We thank you and pray that you protect the drivers and everyone involved. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
She is an Oscar-nominated narrator, a #1 Billboard recording artist, and is currently recording her solo album. Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Cassandra Lewis.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let's hear it one more time.
It's one of racing's most dramatic and unpredictable afternoons, and this first dual race number 1 is loaded. We are about to go racing next on Speed. Welcome back to Daytona, where the World Center of Racing sits just a few miles from the beach where NASCAR actually began. And it's a beautiful day here in Central Florida as well, a perfect day to go racing. You know, before the season began, Vegas odds makers had Danica Patrick as a 500-to-1 shot to win the Daytona 500. Look at where she is now, 30-to-1. Okay, not a favorite, but she is now in the category with champions like Matt Kenseth and Tony Stewart. From our Hollywood hotel to your mobile device, glad you can join us along with champion crew chief Jeff Hammond. I'm Krista Voda. So, Jeff, got to be a testament to what Danica's already accomplished this week.
Those guys got smart, and they got smart in a hurry because of the fact she's been fast in testing in January, as well as since she's got here at Daytona. She can show she can run with these guys today. If she gets aggressive and shows she can handle this car, those odds may drop some more.
Well, Danica Patrick most certainly is the story. She has been the story all weekend. She will continue to be the story, especially based on what she does today. Steve Burns is down on the track with the star, Danica.
Well, Danica Patrick's been busy, Krista. 10 hours of interviews, requests from all over the world, but now it's time to get ready for the Daytona 500. Risk reward today. How do you approach this, Danica?
Well, I just got confused because Mr. Gene Haas told me, he's like, start and park. You got to start on the front row of the Daytona 500. I'm like, I haven't been instructed to do that one yet. So I said, you know, you got to race this one. You got to, especially starting up front. It's the best place to start. I was thinking on my little driver intro as I was riding in the truck. I thought, you know what? The only guaranteed pole position I have for the whole weekend is this one. So, you know, make the most of it and lead as much as I can. If it gets a little chaotic, I'll try not to add to the chaos and drop back. But I got to know what I have for Sunday, which is the payday, which is the big day. So, you know, I'm going to do the best I can to keep the GoDaddy car up front. But if I drop back, I'll try and be smart.
All right, thank you, Danica. Let's go back to Krista.
Thanks, Steve. Sounds like she is going to race. And, man, they're starting them young these days. That's Keelan Harvick, Kevin's son. And that was good luck Saturday night in the Sprint Unlimited for Keelan to sit in the seat first. Let's go down trackside for today's command.
Race fans, it is time. Here to deliver the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome your Grand Marshal, District Manager for ABC Liquors, David LaRue.
Drivers, start your engines.
The first Budweiser Duel at Daytona is about to go green. 60 laps, 150 miles at close to 200 miles per hour, and then we'll do it all over again. Double the drama today on Speed.
Just got a call from the first sergeant. I'm thinking something about the defense department. For the team, what's that? Ready for war, dog. How we gonna blow the spot? Be all I can be and be all I'm not. Now we ready for war.
There are drivers who already know they'll be in the Daytona 500. Fast freight on the outside track. Can they make it the distance? We get ready to begin the duel at Daytona. Get ready for some noise.
Speed is ready to go racing with the Budweiser Duel at Daytona, so you had better be ready too, because we are about to go green. Now for this race, Trevor Bayne is up front alongside Daytona 500 pole sitter Danica Patrick. Welcome back inside to the Hollywood Hotel. Trevor Bayne, of course, the 2011 Daytona 500 champion. And let's head up to the broadcast booth where alongside Mike Joy, you'll find Darrell Waltrip and Larry McReynolds. Mike, the new car looks cool and the racing is going to be hot.
Absolutely. A lot of questions that'll hopefully be answered today, Krista. The Budweiser Duel has a grand tradition of setting the field for the 500 that dates all the way back to the building of the Speedway in 1959. But, Darrell, so many questions about how the drivers will run this race today.
Mike, there's no question. These drivers have met with their crew chief. They've met with their spotters. They have a game plan. They want to race hard, but they want to race smart. I don't know what happens. But when a driver puts that helmet on and he gets up in the middle of the pack and there's cars inside, outside, front him, behind him, he forgets that he's got to get this car. He needs this car on Sunday. He races like it's the last lap of the race. Somebody has to remind him, calm down, be patient, take care of this car. We're going to need it Sunday.
Right, because if you lose this car in this race, you'd either start the 500 in the back or you might have to go home. So Larry, Steve Burns used a great term, risk versus reward ratio, to describe today.
Yeah, and these are qualifying races. It's something very unique to our sport. This is the only time of the year we do this is for the Daytona 500. And there are different agendas. You have drivers, they want to make sure they qualify for the Daytona 500. Every driver wants to start as far up in the field as they possibly can for the biggest race of the year. But the bottom line, it's two races, and there's a victory lane, and at the end of the day, two drivers will get to say, we won a race at Daytona International Speedway.
All right, let's have a look at the Budweiser starting lineup for the first of two Budweiser duels today. Danica Patrick, the first woman pole sitter in NASCAR history, opposite Trevor Bayne on the front row. Row two, Tony Stewart, 3 duel wins, and Denny Hamlin, who won one of these in 2008. Joey Logano has finished top 10 in the last 3 Daytona 500s, and 3-time duel winner Dale Earnhardt Jr. Juan Pablo Montoya, best duel finish of 3rd in 2010. Casey Mears, the runner-up in the Daytona 500 in 06. Then Carl Edwards, the pole sitter here 1 year ago with Martin Truex. Back in row 6, a duel winner in 2010, Jimmy Johnson, with Sprint Cup champion Brad Keselowski. Sprint Unlimited winner Kevin Harvick shares row 7 with Greg Biffle, who got his first career Cup win here at Daytona. David Gilliland 4th in the duel in 07, and Michael Waltrip, a 2-time duel winner. As you have a look through the rest of the starting lineup, Darrell?
Let's talk to little brother. What do you say? Hey, Michael Waltrip, it's Big Brother up here in the booth. You got a copy?
Hello, Big Brother. I hear you loud and clear.
Buddy, you're starting a little bit toward the rear there, but you had a really fast car in practice yesterday. Can you and Tony Eury Jr. find that magic again?
Well, we know our goals today, and that's just to make our way into the big show on Sunday. But I sure have loved working with all the Swan Racing team. Tony Jr.'s the best. He's just got a great attitude. We've won this race before, Darrell. In 05, we won our 150. So I think there's magic in us left still, don't you?
I do, brother. You've kind of been around the other guys and gals out there today and in the garage area. How are people going to approach this race? Have you discussed that with any of the other drivers?
It's like we're a bunch of rookies, Darrell. The wind, the air off the cars is really causing people some havoc. They don't understand exactly what's going on. Used to, when you got right up on the back bumper of another car, you went faster. Now it seems like it bogs them down. You force air into a guy's left rear quarter panel, you're going to spin him out. So everybody's really going to learn a lot today, and this is your best chance to learn everything it takes to win the Daytona 500. So hopefully we can survive, go to school, and really learn what it takes to get these babies around the track.
Well, I like your car. Great effort here for you and the team. Number 26, Newtown. That's a great cause. Good luck, buddy, and do your thing.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Let's check downstairs with our NASCAR on Fox All-Star Pit Crew, Matt Yoakum.
Mike, this could be the most important duel for Dale Earnhardt Jr. as far as qualifying races go here at Daytona in over a decade. Now, Jr. starts at the back due to an engine change. A crash Saturday night cost him a lot of drafting time with this new Chevy. So Steve Letarte, his crew chief, told me, I've unleashed Jr., told him to be aggressive, told him to move around, experiment. We need a solid direction as far as setup goes, so we know what Jr. needs to score another Daytona 500 win on Sunday. Steve Burns?
Well, Matt, it's pretty much the same here for his teammate Jimmy Johnson since winning the Daytona 500 in 2006. His luck has been downright dismal on the restrictor plate tracks, and they've pretty much been the Lone Rangers in practice during speed weeks. But his team just told me the reins are off. They need to learn some things. Expect Jimmy Johnson to race. Let's go to Hermie Sadler.
Well, Steve, Juan Pablo Montoya qualified 7th for this duel, but he will go to the rear of the field because of an engine change that took place prior to qualifying here for the Daytona 500. Now, despite that setback, this team is very confident that their switch to Hendrick engines in the offseason will give them a better chance to be competitive, not only here at Daytona, but for the entire 2013 season. Mike?
Thanks, Hermie. 60 laps, 150 miles. Danica Patrick on the pole for this duel and for the Daytona 500. Here's communication between Danica and her crew.
Hi, you guys have done an awesome job all weekend, and now it's time for me to do my job, so I'm going to do the best I can to keep this car in pole position where you put it, and have some fun.
Her crew chief, Tony Gibson, was born within sight of the Speedway, Halifax Hospital. Car chief for Alan Kulwicki's championship year. A long timer in NASCAR. He has as much experience here as perhaps Danica lacks.
Risk reward today, though. Today's the risk, in my opinion. The reward might be on Sunday.
Why are we so apprehensive about what will happen today? Look what's happened so far. Matt Kenseth across the nose of Kurt Busch in Budweiser, or rather Sprint Unlimited practice. Tony Stewart came across Marcus Ambrose, and that pinballed Denny Hamlin through the field. In the Unlimited, Brian Newman in yesterday's practice got loose outside of Carl Edwards, with Mark Martin also involved.
And that's a lot of the sport's top drivers. In fact, a couple of champions there with Tony Stewart and the other guy that was involved in that one wreck there.
It's like my brother said on the parade lap there, Mike. These guys they're going to school. They're really learning about this car and what it does when it gets in certain positions. And it's different than what we've had in the past. It's better, but it's different.
So today is your midterm exam. The Budweiser Duel, 60 laps, 150 miles. Pit road speed 55 miles an hour, and the fuel window, Larry.
42 to 46 laps, so we know every driver will have to make at least one pit stop, whether it be under caution or be under green.
You know, one other thing real quickly. I believe there's a lot of pressure on every one of these drivers to be the driver that won one of the first races in this new car. With Kevin Harvick Saturday night in the Unlimited, he won the first race in the Gen 6 car. Who's going to win the qualifiers today? Who's going to win the 500 on Sunday?
Ready to race. Up in the east banking of turns 3 and 4. Steeped 31 degrees. And then they flare out into the short chute that leads to the 18-degree bank trioval. The green flag awaits.
Hot and sunny, Larry. There's a lot of sunshine on the racetrack today.
This is the hottest it's been the entire speed weeks.
23 cars. 15 of them will lock in Daytona 500 starting positions 60 laps from now. Chevrolet pace car dives onto pit road, and Danica Patrick, NASCAR's first woman pole sitter, brings them to the green. We're racing. Patrick and her car owner Tony Stewart on the inside, then Joey Logano driving his new Ford.
We saw this in the Sprint Unlimited. At the start of the race, Denny Hamlin in the black 11 gave Trevor Bayne a bit of a push in that 21, and that really gave him a good run through 1 and 2.
On the outside, Bayne in a Ford. The 11 is Hamlin's Toyota, then Casey Mears. He's in a Ford, and Truex in a Toyota. 2 by 2, here they come. Who'll lead the first lap?
It's like that 21 car. That thing's been fast in practice, qualified good, and Trevor Bain, our 2011 winner of the Daytona 500, is out front and looking good.
One concern about passing here is when you pull that group right up even with the race leader, you face a wall of air, and completing the pass has been difficult.
It's a perfect scenario for Danica, though, because she's got her car owner and teammate behind her, Tony Stewart. You know he's going to kind of shepherd her along. But that 11 car, that's the guy I think you got to keep an eye on, Larry.
Hamlin in a tight draft with Bain. They're the leaders on the outside. Patrick leading the inside lane.
I really don't think this is going down exactly like Danica and Tony really thought it would. I think they thought with Danica being on the pole on the inside, they would be able to get ahead of all this traffic that they're fighting right now. So
here
not sure this going according to plan.
Hamlin.
Well, it just appeared that outside line stayed tighter to each other than the inside line, and that kept moving them ahead.
Just based on what I've seen in practice, Larry, with the Gibbs Toyotas particularly, and all the Toyotas in general, that 11 car is fast.
Tell you who else is pretty fast. Casey Mears in that 13 car right behind Trevor Bain. If you go back to the last restrictor plate race of last year, he was pushing Michael Waltrip to the win till the big wreck happened in 3 and 4.
15 cars in that front pack, Darrell, bumper to bumper, 195 miles an hour. That's white knuckle racing right there.
Yeah, this is, if I were Danica, this is as far back as I'd want to go and keep racing, because it's going to get tense. These guys are going to get 3 wide here before long.
Now the 48 of Jimmy Johnson has done no drafting practice. He's made single car runs all week. Hasn't had a chance to work that Chevrolet in the draft, and now he's stuck in the middle with Kevin Harvick trying to edge ahead there.
Boy, we've seen this scenario a few times, and it hadn't been pretty.
Steve Burns.
And you saw Carl Edwards there stuck on the bottom on the low side of Jimmy Johnson, Mike. He said he would much rather get to the high side. He just can't get there from here.
2 by 2, then 3 by 3. By 3.
By 3.
Earnhardt from the back alongside the 29 of Harvick. He's up to 13th now in that number 88 Chevrolet.
You know, one thing that Danica said, and I really liked what she said. She said, I know it's going to be chaotic. I just don't want to add to it. And I think that's where she's riding along right now. How much of this can I take?
Waltrip on the outside with the front pack. 10th overall. And Johnson inside him.
I don't mean her as a driver. I just mean putting her car back in the field right here.
Driver that has really been working his way to the front. He started in the 10th position, but our champion, Brad Keselowski, in that 2 car, the 4th car in line, seems like he didn't have a lot of qualifying speed, but good speed in the draft.
Hello.
Gyro cam on board Jimmy Johnson, giving you a taste of the 31-degree banking.
That is awesome. And folks at home, that's exactly what it feels like. It flips you up in the bank. Then it sets you down on the straightaway, and that's what a driver feels for 500 miles around this place, 150 today. Look at that view. Look at the angle of that view, and that's what the driver's looking out the corner of that windshield. That's what he sees.
Back to double file behind the front half dozen.
Darrell, it just appears Denny Hamlin in the 11. He jumped to the bottom. I think he thought that line was going to start moving, and that line just keeps moving backwards.
You heard Jimmy Johnson say, I want to get to the outside. The hotter it gets, the slicker it gets, the more you're going to run that outside.
Trevor Bain remains on point. 16th is the final transfer position, and that's where Dale Earnhardt Jr. sits. Nope, Joe Nemechek has passed Earnhardt for the final spot to race into the 500. That's Scott Speed in the 95 up high, sandwiching Jimmy Johnson in between he and Danica Patrick.
Oh boy, this is really, I know there's a crew down there. That 10 bunch is holding their breath right now. This is the danger zone, folks.
Nemechek side by side for that last transfer spot now with Tony Stewart. And Carl Edwards moves on to the bubble. Patrick and Stewart continue to draft nose to tail.
Darrell, I think we got our answer to the question we had on qualifying day. The Ford camp did not have a lot of speed in single car runs. How about 5 of the top 6 right now in this race out of the Ford camp?
They like that draft, Larry. They like to get out there and draft each other.
Kurt Busch just sailed by on the outside to take over the final qualifying position. Speed's presentation of the Budweiser Duel at Daytona, presented by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. And by Sprint. Millions of fans, one family. Only Sprint can feed them all. Join the family at sprint.com/speed.
And I got to say this, okay? For all those people who said, I knew she couldn't stay up there, this is all part of the plan. She just needs to run out, and she's getting some laps. She wants to see what her car will do. So she's doing what she planned. Well, I think this was their plan.
All right, Danica Patrick has fallen to the back of the field. Matt.
And DW hit it exactly right. Last night, these two teams sat down and they came up with a couple different scenarios for this duel in case certain situation presented itself. Now, basically, Brandon Benesh, Danica Patrick's spotter, and Stewart's spotter, Bob Jeffrey, both noticed the fact that the bottom line wasn't moving. Too many cars had gone by. They decided to drop to the back, play it a little bit more safe at this juncture, and then a few more laps later, they'll make a run back toward the front. Just learning and being safe, guys.
Look who she's running with. Look who she's running around. 5-time, 3-time, Carl Edwards. I mean, you got some champions back there that she's kind of running around at the back with.
There are 23 cars in this race. It's a 22-car draft. Brian Keselowski, older brother of the champ, has lost the draft. You'll see him cycle across the top of the screen in your Fox box, 23rd. The easiest way to keep up with this race is to look at the background of the position number. If it is green, then that driver is in a position to race his way in to the Daytona 500 with that finishing position. If the background number has no color, that driver may have to look for another way to get into the 500 based on his qualifying speed or provisional. If a driver is eliminated from Sunday's race, then the background of his position number will be red. There are 15 positions available in this race in the 500 field, plus Danica Patrick, the pole sitter, is locked in.
Question, crew chief. Dale Jr. lost an engine yesterday. And do you think by chance that the Hendrick group decided to detune their engines just a little bit? Because look where they're all running. And they've been pretty steamy in practice and qualifying.
Yeah, I just believe the fact that they know there's a pit stop coming. And I'm looking, they're all running the same speed right now. Steve, I just didn't hear that there was a huge alarm in the Hendrick camp as far as engines.
No, and the only comment from Jimmy Johnson thus far, Larry Mack, he says, I'm just a little bit aero tight off the corners. Nothing loose about this race car.
But just think, this is the first time that Jimmy Johnson has had this car in the draft. Yesterday, the 2 practice sessions, he elected to make single car runs trying to find speed in his 48 car.
Well, you can, I mean, with the ECU unit, the electronic control unit, you can regulate these engines and how much performance. Are you going to max perform? You know, where you want the engine to run. I just had this idea that watching them where they're running, I said, well, maybe they just detune them, get some miles on them, they be sure everything's okay.
15 laps complete this time. Hermie Sadler, how about Denny Hamlin's number 11 Toyota?
Well, Mike, he dropped all the way back to the 20th position on the racetrack, partly because he got caught in the wrong line, partly because his car is too tight, especially on the exit of the corner, and that's a battle he's fighting right now. The lower he tries to run on the racetrack, the tighter his car gets. So right now he's hung back in a little bit of traffic, as you can see, trying to make a move on the 38 to get back towards the front.
Listen, that's the worst. When you're tight off, you got your wheels turning. You're coming off the corner, you're wide open in the throttle, and those front tires aren't gripping. All you can do is get out of the gas because that thing is headed straight for the wall.
12-car breakaway at the front of the field. There they are, and behind them, the battle is on for that last qualifying spot, which right now is held by David Rudiman. 19 laps complete in today's aerial coverage, brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
It's just real tight off of 4 right now. It's tight into 3, but it's pretty tight off of 4.
We'll make an adjustment. We'll be stopped there.
And that's what you do here. When the track gets hot, when the track gets slick, the car will not turn off the corner, particularly when you run the low line. That's why these guys have all gone to the high side. You get a little bit straighter run off the corner that helps that push a little bit, but that's a problem we've had at this track a long, long time, pushing off the corners.
What was a 12-car breakaway is now a 20-car draft, and the battle is on for the last transfer spot. Montoya has it. Edwards wants it, and a lap or so ago, Edwards had a close call.
This looks a lot like what we saw in practice with the 99 Carl Edwards and Ryan Newman yesterday. Watch Carl's car takes off up the hill. That's the same thing that he did to Ryan Newman yesterday, and Newman spun out.
Watching Trevor Bayne lead in this race, I talked to one of his owners, Eddie Wood, the other day in the garage area. He said this kid wants to turn everything into a competition. He said we can just be out having fun on a windy day flying kites. He will figure out how to turn that into a competition.
Trevor Bayne on point, wearing the Wood Brothers paint scheme that won the 1963 Daytona 500 for them.
That's got to thrill Leonard Wood just to death, man. That car out there leading that race, his tribute car. Leonard Wood just inducted into the 2013 Hall of Fame along with his brother Glenn last year. Those guys know how to run Daytona.
Brad Keselowski sitting in fourth spot, Matt.
Mike, different agendas throughout the field. Now, yesterday, Keselowski's team had an issue with their fuel system. They changed out the entire fuel system. They ran sometime yesterday just to check that, but no better test than running this duel. Keselowski says no issues. In fact, he says he's noticing other drivers are starting to lose their handle. He feels like if his teammate directly behind him, Joey Logano, would dip out with him, they could make a run and take the lead. He feels pretty good about his car at this juncture.
And Larry, what have you said down here for the last several days? When a guy pulls into victory circle here and he gets out of his car, what's he going to say?
He's going to talk about how good his car drove. He's probably maybe won't talk about how fast it was, but how good it drove.
You got to be able to run wide open lap after lap. If you have to start missing, like we heard Danica say, you're going to lose the lead draft.
These brand new Fords, Chevys, and Toyotas with a lot more manufacturer identity than the past cars. Aerodynamically, they are different. They drive differently. And here is the battle for the bubble. Rudeman 14th on the outside in the 83. Tony Stewart on the bubble. Denny Hamlin one spot back with Jimmy Johnson. And now Rudeman in the 83 is in the last qualified spot.
And David Rudeman is the one that really needs that spot. We know Tony Stewart would be in on speed, but David Rudeman, 41st quickest, he knows he has to race his way in through this dual race.
That's a group, you know you got to race your way in. You're pretty desperate. That's a group you need to keep your eye on, particularly if you're behind all of them as Danica Patrick is right now.
That is an 8-car jam session there, fighting for 15th. Now we know that once this race is over, if Trevor Bayne and Tony Stewart don't race their way in, their speed will get them into the 500, and these drivers would be in with provisional positions should they not race in. There is even a scenario in which Dale Earnhardt Jr. misses the 500 if the drivers ahead of him on speed and provisionals have to use them, and Jr. does not race his way in this event.
And Mike, of the drivers you just marked there, the two that are outside that top 15 right now, Kurt Busch and Denny Hamlin.
Last time around, Jimmy Johnson and David Rudeman's 83.
Wow, did you see that flap come up on the hood, Larry?
That
a lot of air.
Shows you how much the air changes on the nose of a car when he's following another driver.
There you see Rudeman. Whoa, he might have got a little bit of the wall there after that bump from Johnson. Was that bump drafting or a little bit of a chrome horn?
I think he thought you had to go right to go left, but this ain't dirt.
26 of 60 laps complete in the first Budweiser Duel. Drivers take the halfway sign. Trevor Bayne still in the lead. 12-car lead draft. And on pit road, that's one of the newest members of the NASCAR Hall of Fame, Leonard Wood, mechanical genius, pit stop choreographer. And the Wood brothers took the paint scheme thing to extreme. They're even wearing the same uniform design as in 1963 when Tiny Lund drove their car to victory lane. He's getting ready to clean the grill when Trevor comes in on pit stop.
What do you remember about that race, or do you remember anything at all?
Well, I remember Marvin Pance was the Wood brothers driver, but he was injured in a sports car race, and Tiny Lund was one of those who pulled him out. Marvin couldn't drive the 500. They installed Tiny Lund in the car.
The greatest, fastest pit crew, just about forever, never changed tires that day.
The Wood brothers have 3 wins in the duel, with Cale Yarborough in 1970, David Pearson in 75, and Neil Bonnet in 1980. Jeff Hammond.
Guys, you were talking about pit stops. The way I'm looking at the way this race is starting to shake out, I think this is going to be real important that all these teams, it's kind of like their first opportunity in really a live fire situation to execute perfectly, because track position really looks like it's going to be premium today, and getting off pit road is going to be critical.
You know, Jeff, I think it's more getting on pit road, because when you're running in a pack like this, you really got to watch getting down off the track. You don't get run over.
And this pack will decide, Jeff, who's going to be in the 500. Right now it's Montoya, the 42 with that transfer. No, now it's Regan Smith.
And Mike, I go back to what Darrell was saying. Getting on the pit road. These guys have not practiced it a whole lot, so this is the first time at speed they've got to start getting the car down to pit road speed and not run over one another.
And now it's Tony Stewart who's in the 15th spot. That leaves Jimmy Johnson 1 spot away. Earnhardt 3 spots away from qualifying.
And that pit stop is about 10 or 12 laps away. And here's what's going to be the crapshoot. The way these cars are handling right now, I think you want to go with 4 tires, but you don't need but just about a half a can of fuel. So that the tire changers, a lot's going to be on their shoulders.
I think so, Larry, but I also think if there's guys in there say, hey, my car's handling great, might throw 2 tires and a shot of gas and get out of there.
As long as he has plenty of friends that does the same thing.
And that's usually what you're doing. If you got neighbors and you're going to pit with somebody or you're going to come in with other people, you work out what your plan is with the other people so you don't get caught out.
Right now, Jimmy Johnson's 48 at the tail end of this pack is in the last transfer position. Here comes Earnhardt on the inside trying to take it away. Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Carl Edwards, 6th, 7th, 8th. Greg Biffle right there. And Harvick really steaming along on the inside here.
I think if you can run the bottom and you don't have to lift out of the throttle, get the pushing up off the corner, you can make good time down there, but that bottom is hard to run when the track is hot and slick like this.
Pit stop should be coming soon. The lead pack has reformed, 18 cars deep. Regan Smith right now in the last transfer spot. They were 3 by 3 halfway through the field, and then they came up on Brian Keselowski, who the leader puts 2 laps down. They had to reform double file, and now they're 3 abreast again.
I thought that Brian was going to be right in the way, but they were able to manage it very well. I'm really surprised. I thought that was going to be a disaster.
Edwards inside Logano in the middle in that yellow car. 3 wide. Pit stops have begun. Joe Nemechek, who has to race his way into the 500, and David Rudiman making their green flag stop. Jeff?
Guys, I'd like to point out Kevin Harvick. Remember the other night in the shootout deal that he forced his way to the front in that last segment, got to come down pit road, held that lead off of pit road, and went on to win that event on Saturday night. So I'm looking for him to do about the same thing today, be able to try to hold that serve off of pit road. And Darrell, to your point, when he started this race, he was one of the very few cars that was loose.
She's tightened up now and going somewhere.
Well, Harvick brought the inside line to the front and made the pass for the lead. He is the only driver who's been able to do that today.
But I tell you, to Jeff's point, his crew the other night in that Sprint Unlimited gave him a well of a pit stop, and that's what put him in a position to hold that lead and go on and win that race.
Bobby Labonte comes off pit road as David Gilliland comes in. Harvick, Bain, Mir, Truex, Biffle, and Jimmy Johnson has fought his way up to 6th. They've taken off from the pack, which remains 3 and 2 wide behind them.
But don't you love the way Harvick races? I mean, we had, you know, Trevor Bayne's leading the race comfortably, and Casey Mears right behind him. They're riding along real good shape. And all of a sudden, where did he come from?
Well, he continues to make the statement, even though he has announced he will be leaving Richard Childress Racing at the end of this year, that we are here to contend and win races.
He has. I love his attitude. He wants to help this team. He wants it to be in the best shape it can be in when he walks out the door. It's good for him. It's good for the team. Here comes some of them.
Series champ Brad Keselowski, his teammate Joey Logano stopping with him, and also Montoya coming to pit road, Scott Speed, and Regan Smith. Green flag pit stops. Hermie?
Juan Pablo Montoya hits his pit stall. His car has been tight, especially in traffic. They're talking about 2 right side tires and fuel. Matt?
And with the Penske cars, both Joey Logano in the 22 and Brad Keselowski are champion, both on pit road, and both had similar complaints during that first run. So the car was really tight early, but as the run progressed, it got better and better. Both are away.
A whole group, including the leaders, are going to peel off this time. Kevin Harvick is going to lead Trevor Bayne onto pit road. Casey Mears, Martin Truex, Greg Biffle, Jimmy Johnson, and just about the rest of the field.
Yeah, the 21 car got out into the infield there a little bit. I don't think it hurt it, though.
Steve?
The report from Jimmy Johnson, he says the car is running a little bit warm, but okay. He continued to say the car was just a little bit tight off. Hermie?
21 car, no adjustments, but it will be a 4-tire stop and fuel. Matt?
And Dale Earnhardt Jr., he was riding near the back most of that run. Not a lot of complaints from Jr. Meanwhile, Danica Patrick pulls the green car to a stop. They're going to make a track bar adjustment because she had such a difficult time losing the nose, especially off turn 4. The car was tight, and she's away.
We saw a mixed bag of strategies on pit road. There were 2 tires. There were 4 tires. I even saw, like, Regan Smith's team went with fuel only.
Yeah, I think 2 tires was a call, Larry. Just no more fuel than you need to get to the end. 2 tires.
Let's take a look at the 29 of Kevin Harvick leading Trevor Bayne and the rest of this pack onto pit road. And then everyone else decides to pit with him. A lot of tire smoke there.
Here's what happens. Trevor blows his right front tire out, shoots him out into the grass a little bit. He comes to the pit box with a right front tire flat.
And I think that's one reason they just went ahead and said, you know what, we're up near the front. We're going to put 4 tires on this 21 car.
Doesn't appear to hurt the nose on the car at all.
Bayne is back on track in 11th. And the all-important final transfer spot right now belongs to Bobby Labonte, the 2000 Series champion, in the 47. Harvick in and out first, ahead of Greg Biffle, Martin Truex, Jimmy Johnson, and Casey Mears. 42 laps. Brian Keselowski is the last car to come to pit road as Kevin Harvick leads. 45 laps complete. Kevin Harvick is your leader. 4-car draft at the front, then 2, then more. We listened to Trevor Bayne about that entrance to pit road.
Harvick crowded us over. I couldn't do anything about it. Sorry.
He's second in line there.
I think he was just coming a lot faster than Harvick. Harvick really gave him quite a bit of room right there. They get a little tight, but Trevor had such a head of steam. But remember, we were having the practice show yesterday, and I told you about managing your resources. The 48 is a good example. The 48 was at the back of the pack before those pit stops. Your resources are your driver and his talent, your car and its speed, and your pit crew and your crew chief, what they do and the strategy. They have used every bit of their resources to find themselves up in the top 4 here.
And the field is spread out for 2 reasons. One, the driver's skill entering and leaving pit road, but moreover, the skill of that pit crew in making a fast stop has spread the field a bit.
Well, when I look at our top 4 right now, Harvick, Biffle, Truex Jr., and Johnson, their teams went with 2 right side tires, as Darrell pointed out, just enough fuel to get to the end. When I look at the 2 drivers behind them, Edwards in the 99 too, actually Casey Mears in the 13, fuel only.
Man, one other thing, Larry, remember those guys raced Saturday night. So the pit crews have had some practice of changing tires, maybe have a better strategy, and they're leading the race.
Bobby Labonte holds the last transfer spot, but now Brad Keselowski and Juan Pablo Montoya have drafted up to him. That could change quickly. 50 laps complete, 10 to go in the first of two Budweiser Duel races to set the 500 field. Kevin Harvick is on point. Trevor Bayne led most of the way. Harvick brought the inside line up from the front, took the lead. Pole sitter Danica Patrick dropped to the back, but after her pit stop has rebounded to 18th place. Brian Keselowski 2 laps down, and David Gilliland has just been lapped, taking them off the lead lap. And the transfer spot right now is still held by the number 47 of Bobby Labonte. His Toyota just in front of Brad Keselowski, the series champ, and Juan Pablo Montoya as the laps wind down.
I like the way this is setting up, Larry. It kind of looks like a rerun of the Unlimited Saturday night. These two cats at the front. People might think he owes Harvick a little something.
Well, Darrell, I can't help but go back to the Sprint Unlimited when I look at these 4 drivers leading this pack around here with about 8.5 laps to go. I think back to what did not happen in that race. And I think back to what Tony Stewart told you under the pace laps of that race. You can't wait to the last corner. And I think all of these drivers know that. The question, when are they going to make their move?
What's kind of interesting, you have a Chevrolet, a Ford, a Toyota, and another Chevrolet. So all of these guys are right here with a shot.
We're going to have to look back pretty deeply into the Sprint Unlimited to find the last time Kevin Harvick was passed under the green flag here this week. Things are picking up in the second pack. It's a 4-car breakaway out front. Now all of these drivers are in a secure qualifying. Oh, no! Hard, 1 car into the wall, and that's Carl Edwards.
Or is it Carl?
Wow, Regan Smith gets tagged. Denny Hamlin involved. That changes everything.
21
Had that group minded their P's and Q's, they all would be in the Daytona 500.
Oh my.
And now we're under caution for the first time in the first Budweiser Duel. Very, very hard contact with the outside wall for Carl Edwards, who has dropped the window net. And that is a signal to safety workers that he is okay.
See if we can get a look here and see exactly what happened.
There's Carl Edwards.
Comes his pack around. He kind of pushes up off the bottom there a little bit. Looks pretty good at this point. Oh, Hamlin, looks like Hamlin got loose first. Not sure why. Have to look at it again.
But he definitely got loose and came down into Carl Edwards' right rear quarter panel.
Let's see if we can get a better look here.
Now that's Michael Waltrip alongside Carl.
Oh, the 11 just gets, he's just spinning out. He gets loose and starts to spin.
Yeah, he got no help from the 21 whatsoever. He just got loose, it looked like.
Now further back was Dale Earnhardt Jr. Back about 12th position. Let's ride along.
Get the help here. Use the air off that 22. You'll drive right back by him here. There you go.
Boy,
keep coming, keep going, keep going, keep going. Good job, man. Good job. Caution's out.
That is a great piece of driving, folks. Didn't panic. See there, the 11 just gets around. And Larry, when you're really tight off of 2 over there, you got a lot of wheel in the thing, and when the front end finally does take a little bit of a bite, the thing it'll come around with you like that.
And Denny Hamlin, one of the drivers, his crew, they put 4 fresh tires on that car under that pit stop.
Junior makes it through, and Trevor Bayne runs out of room in the 21.
Boy, between the car and testing and now speed weeks, that's a lot of cars for Carl Edwards. Hermie.
The 11 car did make it to pit road. Obviously 4 flat tires. What I can see, a little bit of damage to the left front fender. They did not spend any time working on damage on the right side. So I'm assuming all the damage we can see on the car right here in front of the left front tire. They're going to try to get 4 tires on it, fix the damage, and get him away. Matt?
Brad Keselowski brings the deuce to pit road, his car tight. Meanwhile, a few more stalls up pit road. Tony Stewart says his car is extremely tight down in turns 3 and 4, and off of turn 2, it's just sliding the nose. Chassis adjustments for both.
Juan Pablo Montoya and Scott Speed also making pit stops.
Evidently, Montoya must have some damage there. You can see him working on the right front. But, yeah, the other drivers that came to pit road, 4 fresh tires.
Yeah, the 42 looks like he got against the fence at some point.
This car was already a bit banged up and scraped up from green flag racing earlier.
Yeah, I think that damage was done. Now they have time to fix it.
Tony Stewart slides through. We're under caution at Daytona as Trevor Bayne surveys the damage. 5 laps to go and getting ready to restart, and the question is, what turned the 11 of Denny Hamlin around when it did not appear there was any contact?
You're just coming up off you're coming off this corner. Remember, we're talking about how cars are tight and they're pushing. The car's understeering. You got a lot of steering in it, The front of the car bites just a little bit, and when it does, it snaps the back end around just like that.
Coming to green with 4 laps to race, Brad Keselowski Scott Speed in the final transfer spot as they take the green.
Yeah, what looked like was going to be 4 drivers fighting it out, we're back up to about 15 or 16 with 4 to go.
Yeah, this could get real interesting.
Bump drafting Jimmy Johnson and Kevin Harvick in the 29 as they come to speed.
That little green car slipping in the picture there, Larry. Who is that?
That would be Brother Michael up there in that 26 car.
He beats all I've ever seen.
In 5th place. Biffle on the inside now. Riding with Waltrip. Johnson just ahead in 3rd. Logano just behind in 4th. Then Earnhardt Jr. and Truex.
This is somewhat the situation we were in at the start of the race, where it just looks like that outside line is lining up, and they're going to prevail here.
You know, quite honestly, I know Michael's in a great spot right there, but in all reality, he can't afford to have a problem.
At the back of that pack, David Rudiman just lost the transfer spot to 14. Tony Stewart.
Look at that bottom. They come off the corner right there. They're 3 wide coming up off 2 over there, headed down the back.
Yeah, look at Montoya in the 42. He was just on pit road getting repairs and 4 tires, and look at him coming up through there on the bottom.
He got them good repairs. Made that baby better.
Speed, Rudiman, Speed. The 95 and the 83 fighting for the last spot, and just ahead of them, they are log jammed 3 abreast. Nemechek now in the transfer spot in the 87.
Hang on to her, boys.
And Harvick's having to do the same thing he did the other night. He's driving out the windshield, but he's almost driving as much out the rear window.
He's working it, baby. He's working it. He's waiting to make somebody to make a move.
And Waltrip on the outside, backing up just a bit. Stewart on the bottom. That's Kurt Busch in the 78 coming up the middle with Casey Mears.
I can't get over Montoya in that 42. He is just beating the rear bumper off the Biffle down the back straightaway. Finally gets off.
Montoya in the target car restarted 13th. He is up to 3rd.
White flag in the air, and none too soon, I might add.
Still good here. Still good here. Come middle right.
Nemechek in the transfer spot 3 wide near the back of that pack. Can that owner-driver race his way into the 500?
The same 2 drivers at the end of the Sprint Unlimited. Harvick in 1st, Biffle in the 16 in 2nd.
Don't look now, Ethel.
Now Gilliland 15. Now Scott Speed. What a desperate battle to make Sunday's Great American Race. Now Gilliland, the 38.
All in a wad. Here they come. Every time we see this on the last lap, what do we see that follows?
Checkers or wreckers? Here they come. Final time. Harvick to win it from Biffle.
Good job.
And all in a pack, 17 cars.
Oh, my.
And unofficially, the final driver to race his way in, Michael Waltrip.
Wow.
15.
Oh, my gosh. Michael Curtis at CW, you got a copy?
We don't have no. We need to get our right front.
Darrell by 9/100ths of a second. Waltrip edges Scott Speed for the final transfer spot.
Hey, Mikey, CW, you got a copy?
Loud and clear, brother. That was intense.
Whoa, buddy, you just barely made it in, but guess what? You made it in.
Yeah, there's a lot of people up in Connecticut I know with a big smile on their face for this Texas Newtown to 8088 Toyota. I'm just real proud to get in the race for them. They can sit up in the cold on Sunday in the Northeast and watch a big old-fashioned, fancy NASCAR race from Daytona. Don't get much better than that.
Holy cow, buddy, I thought you were going to win it there for a couple laps, but it looked like you got in the wrong line.
Well, I didn't get in the line. My line became the wrong line. You know, it's no coincidence that Biffle and Harvick were up front Saturday night in the shootout. They're really fast, even though, you know, me and Jimmy had it all pulled together, it looked like. They just were too strong. Their cars are really fast, so watch for those guys in the 500. And then we were a little tight at the end. We got to work on our handling. But thank the team. Really happy to be a part of this show.
Good job, buddy. Work on her a little bit.
Yeah, she needs some adjustments. Right on.
Kevin Harvick had never won a duel in 11 tries. Now he is headed for victory lane as we go to Steve Burns.
Well, Mike, Carl Edwards just out of the infield care center. And, Carl, let's take a look at the replay, and you can walk us through what happened.
I was driving along minding my own business, and I thought, well, I'll just go up here and get close to these guys so I can get a pull down the back straightaway. And then I saw in my mirror, it seemed like Denny got sideways. Yep, he got sideways, hit me right here. I thought, boy, I'm going to flip. And fortunately, it didn't. But that's the fourth time we've wrecked a car since we've been down here before the Daytona 500. So I got to thank my guys for working so hard. They're putting these things back together, and fortunately, we got fast and all stuff. We got nuts and bolts from them, and we'll get it all put back together. But there's really... Is
that car totaled, Carl?
Yeah, thank you.
I have to ask the blind obvious.
Yeah, that's the only direction it would go. After I couldn't go right. I was trying real hard to get back.
Yeah,
around.
she's torn up.
It's broke. But now we'll go have a 500 and try to avoid the wrecks. Like Jack said, I know what the wrecks look like now. I'm really familiar with them, so we'll go get this.
They're pre-crashed.
Yeah, pre-crash for the 500. I mean, how much better does it get than that? We'll hopefully get our Ford Fusion to victory lane. I want to win this 500. And don't count us out. We're working hard. Our guys are in the groove, and it's nothing but work. We'll just go do it.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Late last year, crew chief Gil Martin reunited with Kevin Harvick. Boy, they've been on a tear here in Daytona Beach.
Back in Daytona, dual race number 1 of the Budweiser Duel is complete. Matt Yoakum is standing by in victory lane with the first winner.
After a second, third, and a fourth, Kevin Harvick's racing resume now can add a Budweiser Duel victory. 40-degree swing in temperature from Saturday night to today. What was the biggest impactful learning tool to score a second 500 you learned?
Well, I think the biggest thing was the fact that the cars were definitely a little bit freer. My car was a little bit free up off the corner, but, man, the way that the draft worked out, you really had to be precise on timing because if you weren't, you'd get hung out. Just got to thank all the race fans in Sprint, Budweiser, Ream, Jimmy John's, Chevrolet, Champion, Hunt Brothers, Bad Boy Buggies, everybody that helps the Chevrolet out and all these guys on this RCR team.
So much has been said about superstition, but I've got to tell you, next Sunday, I think I'd put little Keelan back in the car. Twice he's been in the car, twice a win.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but, man, we're just having a good time, and having Delana and Keelan here just adds a great balance to my life, and just relax and ready to race.
Good luck on Sunday.
Thank you.
Ernie?
Well, Danica Patrick, 17th place finish, but a clean race car, and I expect you learned a lot in the process as well. Tell us about your day.
I learned some. I feel like what I really need to do is go on down to Harvick's bus tonight and figure out what the heck he's got going on, because he's got it figured out this year here. So good job to him. But yeah, I mean, it was the top line was the way to go. I mean, I lifted a little on the start because I got a bit of a jump, and I didn't want them to close so fast and then get freight trained in a real scary way. So I lifted a little on the start. I don't know if I should have or not. And but the top was the way to go. So once I dropped back, we just hung there, and I was really tight. We tightened it up yesterday, and we tightened it up even more for today. So I feel like we kind of overshot there, but that's all right. It ended up being kind of like a test session. And then when we pitted with Tony and a bunch of others, but something happened with my tack, and I wasn't getting the revs that I needed to know what I was doing on pit lane. And while I was running out there, I was doing about 10,000 RPM, and I'm pretty sure that's not right.
It's not right, but that's Danica Patrick. Good solid day for the 10 team. Steve?
Well, Hermie at the Care Center, and Trevor Bain has just come out. I heard you say on the radio that you were okay, but your car wasn't. Let's take a look at the replay.
Yeah, that was a unfortunate deal for our team here. We had a fast car all day long. I wasn't really close to the 11 at all, and he got loose in front of us. After we caught that next group, we had been making a run at the leaders there, and, you can see it. Carl gets turned right in front of us, and it's pretty dead from there. But actually, the later hit, you can't see it yet, but the 51 slides up in front of us. Or I don't even know what number it was. It came up so quick, I never saw him coming, and it got another hit there. But it's unfortunate, man. We had a fast race car all day long. But same thing that happened in 2011. We qualified third, got crashed at the end of the duel. So maybe we can win the 500 now. I don't know, but I hate that they got to get the backup car out. That's never something you want to do, especially when we're so tight on cars right now.
All right, thank you, Trevor. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Steve. And we told you the duel is dramatic. Here are your Nationwide Insurance Race 1 results. Kevin Harvick does it again. Greg Biffle strong one more time. There you see Dale Earnhardt Jr. securely in the top 10. But, Jeff, there was some controversy. There's a shakeup. If you watch the race, one of the names that you saw in the top finishers, Martin Truex, he's not there.
Yeah, we noticed right there. When he came into the pit area, they said the right side window was not inside the car like it's supposed to, not properly put in there. So what happened? It advanced Scott Speed into the field for the Daytona 500 in that 15th finishing position. Great break for him. Not such a great break for the 56 car of Martin Truex Jr.
Absolutely. Talk about the range, though, of emotions for Scott Speed. He thought he was out or possibly on the bubble. Now he knows he'll be racing in Sunday's Daytona 500. Hermie is with him.
Scott Speed, debriefing with your crew. You're in the Daytona 500. Congratulations.
Cool, thank you. Awesome. I mean, I think we have a really good car. We were really good the first part of the race, and we kind of blew a pit stop. And then it kind of put us in the back, and then it was hard with no one behind us, with no help. It was difficult to go anywhere, but we're in. That's good. I think we're going to have a solid car for the 500.
A good notebook for Scott Speed and his team to work on this car to get ready for the Daytona 500.
Here is your side-by-side brought to you by Nationwide Insurance. Kevin Harvick coming to the checkers. That's his crew chief, Gil Martin. They're reunited this season. So far, they are 2 for 2, winning the Sprint Unlimited and dual race number 1. Richard Childress, a very happy owner. We will get you ready for dual race number 2 and continue talking about the duel. Speed's coverage of the Budweiser Duel at Daytona is presented by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. And brought to you in part by the all-new Ford Fusion. Go further. And some thought with the top 35 rule being gone, there wouldn't be drama in the duel. Well, this race started with little Keelan taking his good luck seat for Daddy, and the race ended with the superstition working because Kevin Harvick able to drive to the victory in dual race number 1. So Kevin Harvick, happy, ecstatic, but it's not happiness for everyone. We talked about the drama. What about what's going through David Rudemann's mind?
Did we make it or not? No, we did not make it yet. Only it depends what happens in the next race. We did not make it.
And Jeff, just listening to that, it breaks your heart because that's really what the duel is all about, is that drama.
Yeah, you don't understand. I think you heard it in the voice of David Rudeman right there, how important it was to make the Daytona 500 and how close that he was to getting himself locked in and not having to go back to that motor coach or that garage area and sit around and wait for the second race to end to find out whether or not he'll be in the 500 come Sunday.
Of course, so you got to look at Kevin Harvick. He's won the Sprint Unlimited and the duel in the same year. 12 times that's been done before. Coming into this race, Danica was the story, but right now Kevin Harvick is making a statement that Sunday he'll be the headline.
He is definitely, he is hot. And I think what's impressive about the way Kevin's been racing this new style race car, he has figured it out faster than anybody else. And I think that's a tribute to his ability to understand what these cars are needing. And he has really taken, advantage of it. He's been able to do everything right, from making the move at the right place in the right time. Even when he goes to the back, he knows when to get back to the front. He's excellent getting on and off pit road. And his crew, they are spot on. For the first couple races this year, they've been doing an excellent job off of pit road.
And there are still so many question marks for this new Generation 6 car. But like you said, so far, Kevin Harvick has it figured out. He's your winner in Daytona. The Budweiser Duel at Daytona, presented to you on Speed. And aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, well, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Well, it was a pretty smooth dual race number 1. At least from the start. Let's take a look at the highlights. As we said, Danica Patrick, the first female to sit on a pole for any Sprint Cup race, let alone the Daytona 500. She leads the field of green in dual race number 1.
Yeah, she has trouble. Right, the inside line doesn't really go like she needs to. She dropped in the back of the pack. She at least kept her car out of trouble. But here was some trouble getting on pit road for Trevor Bain. Had to put on 4 tires, and because of that, found himself back in the pack. And this is what happened later on. 4-car wreck, the 99 of Carl Edwards, Denny Hamlin, and the 21 of Trevor Bain get tangled up and ends his day.
Yeah, that was 7 laps to go.
How about that
really
driving by the 88 of Dale Jr.?
I know, he escapes it.
Woo,
and I mean,
close.
just unbelievable, because it really was pretty quiet up until that point. That's when all the noise was made. But Kevin Harvick making the biggest noise right now. He wins the race. And let's hear from another driver in that race number 1. He's with Matt.
Krista, the new car is certainly exciting to watch on a racetrack and can be unpredictable and challenging to drive at times. And Denny, your assessment of what happened?
Yeah, we were, I think we had a 5-car pack, and we were starting to catch the leaders, and I know that we came up on, I think it was the 13 and the 99, and I think they were trying to figure a way to keep us back there and keep us from stop our momentum, and, we all had a big head of steam up top, but the 99 just came up a hair, and I came down a little bit, and really once I got to his right rear, I got loose and obviously turned him and got the 21 involved, but it's a tough deal. Really, I had what I thought was one of the tightest cars out there. It was handling really well, and it just shows you any kind of bad aero position you put yourself in, your car can be vulnerable.
All about learning the car good for Sunday?
Yeah, definitely. Fortunately for us, we're just going to have to replace half a nose. This car will be fine. Hit nothing in the steering, but really look for more side-by-side racing, hopefully, in the 500. Obviously, guys running the top line single file in the first duel will probably set the tone for that type of racing, which you'll see in the second.
Krista?
Thanks, Matt. Denny's had a fast car, but he's been in some trouble this weekend. We'll get you ready for dual race number 2 when we come back, and we'll be joined by a special guest. Stick around. A lot more to come here on Speed with our coverage of the Budweiser Duel. Welcome back to Speed, where Are You Faster Than a Redneck will premiere Friday night following the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race. It's punks versus rednecks with $10,000 on the line in every episode. Are You Faster Than a Redneck, hosted by comedian John Reep, who joins us inside the Hollywood Hotel. Thank you so much. Tell us about the show.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna love it. It's basically, I got a group of rednecks. I call them a mullet mafia.
Okay.
These guys are hardcore American muscle car enthusiasts, and we challenge this younger generation who loves like import foreign cars to a race
They're the
on a
punks,
track.
right? They're the punks.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. We call them punks. And it's a real race, 3 laps, a winding track, door to door, and there's a series. There's 3 rounds, and if the punks win all 3 rounds, they get $10,000.
The thing I wonder about it, did you have any kind of like unexpected moments throughout this whole deal?
Yeah, a couple.
Anybody really act like a redneck?
Oh, yeah, it wasn't acting. These guys are rednecks. And day 1, we were shooting this thing. There was a little rubbing that went on in one of the turns. And, you don't do that to these rednecks. These guys love their cars. They put all their money and life into this thing, and they smack him right in the face. Hey, boom! That's what you get, son.
I do that to Jeff Hammond inside the Hollywood Hotel every day.
Look, don't be telling our secrets.
But you're a NASCAR fan as well. Grew up in NASCAR country in Hickory, North Carolina.
That's right, Hickory, North Carolina. That's how you have to say it. You got to shake your head. That means you're proud. I'm from Hickory, like that. Yeah, I grew up, around NASCAR all the time. I actually worked at a Goodyear for a couple of years with my dad. My dad was the manager of a Goodyear. Made my brother and I work out in the shop, changing tires and oil. And I actually had an uncle who worked. He was like the head mechanic. Yeah. And he was a big chain smoker, and he was trying to teach me how to change brakes one day. And he pulls off the brake drum. Asbestos dust flies out into the air. And I'm not changing a word of this. He looked at me right in the face. He goes, "Get back, stupid. That stuff will give you cancer." He ain't all there. So, yeah, I grew up around it and loved it.
Well, I just want you to know that I'm personally offended you didn't call me and invite me to be a part of your deal, because I thought, according to Chris Myers, I'm a big redneck, okay?
Well,
but
if there's a season 2, your phone will be ringing.
All right, season 2, you give me a call. But real quick, How about Danica Patrick? What do you think? You
I
think
love
she's
it.
got a shot?
Oh, heck yeah.
Is she qualified?
I'm surprised she even raced at all in this thing, you know? I mean, I would have done one lap and just sat down and go just wave at him. You know, I'll see you Sunday, you know?
You think you let her come out and be a part of your
Oh, I
program?
would love to. Yes. Yes, totally. She's awesome.
We love your enthusiasm. We can't wait to see the show, which we will do tomorrow night,
That's
immediately following the NASCAR Camping World Truck
And
Race.
it picks
right
up
here
every
on
Monday
Speed.
after that. Every Monday night at 9 o'clock Eastern time.
We look forward to more slapping.
That's right.
And all the antics. Don't start with me, Jeff. Jeff Gordon will lead the field to green in the second dual race, and you'll see that next on Speed. Welcome back to Daytona. It's the middle of the day, but we've already seen some fireworks in dual race number 1. You just saw Kevin Harvick was your winner in that race. And now we'll head back upstairs. We'll check in with Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, and Darrell Waltrip for their thoughts.
Thanks, Krista. There's a tradition with the Budweiser Duel that if one race is wild, the next one is tame, or vice versa. Last year, 3 cautions in the first duel race, caution-free in race number 2. Darrell, I'm confused. Did we just see the calm race or the wild one?
Well, the finish was fantastic. I really was worried about those guys coming down here to, 3 wide to the checkered flag. We've seen that turn into a disaster. But I think what these guys are going to do, the ones that are in this race, they're going to talk to their teammates. The track was definitely different than it's been for the 2 weeks that we've been down here. So they probably are checking maybe air pressure, a little more wedge or whatever to get the cars to handle a little bit better, because that was the key in that race. Harvick's car handles, so does Biffle's. Larry, you said it.
Yeah, and I think that's why I always like to see my driver in the second duel, because we know this day has been much different than any day we've had here. And, yeah, we can't make major adjustments because our car was already through inspection. But as Darrell said, we can make air pressure adjustments. And I think Danica Patrick said it best. They anticipated that her car was going to be real loose. They tightened it up after practice, saw how hot it was going to be, tightened it up even more, and it was too tight. Harvick's car was loose in the beginning, and that's the reason he was able to come on at the end of that race, because his car tightened up but didn't get too tight where he could turn the steering wheel and the front tires would respond.
So we'll see which way do you go for dual race number 2, which is about to start. Again, Martin Truex's car lost a side window. So that's loss of equipment. He got penalized to the tail end of the lead lap. Makes Michael Waltrip 14th in the first duel, and Scott Speed races his way in as he joins Krista and Jeff.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, Jeff and I like to think that we are energetic, but the energy just went up a notch when Michael walked in the room, because you know you're in.
Yeah, that was a tense 60 laps. I'll tell you, we ran those 40 laps or so in a single file line, a foot off the wall, running 200 miles an hour, a foot off the wall with all these other guys around me, and I'm nervous.
Look, you're coming here to this checkered flag right here. Tell us what's going on.
Well, I just knew I needed to survive and not wreck. I didn't really realize that Nemechek was behind me for a spot, which it turned out okay. But, we put ourselves in a position to win the race, it looked like. With that last restart, I was pushing right at the front. I could see clear track in front of me. And, Jeff, when you make all your moves and you do the things you do and you put yourself in a position to win, if it doesn't pan out and you didn't screw up anything, as a race car driver, you just log that as a positive. You say, okay, we put ourselves in that position. We figured out what it was going to take to be near the front at the end, and then it fell apart. Biffle was the reason why it fell apart. Man, his car was so fast. He held off the outside line in the middle. He just held us down until the troops started coming. And, boy, when they started coming, I didn't think they were ever going to stop. There was car after car after car.
Yeah, they kept coming. And, again, the difference from last year to this year, can you kind of share that with us? I mean, last year it looked like you were going to get in and you had the problem off of pit road, but this year, I mean, totally different result.
It's just it's the Daytona 500, It makes me proud that I've been able to race in it a bunch of times and win it a couple times. And there's a whole bunch of people up in Newtown, Connecticut that have something to smile about. If it's only just for a short while on Sunday, their car is going to be racing in the Daytona 500. We're going to raise a lot of money for Newtown for the counseling and therapy that they need to go forward. And just for a short period of time on Sunday, watching the greatest race in the whole world, I hope they can smile for a bit.
Racing for a very important reason. Michael Waltrip is in the Daytona 500. Some guys still waiting to cash in their ticket in dual race number 2. Matt Yoakum is standing by with one of the guys who will be racing coming up very soon.
New team, Krista, new crew chief, 2-time Daytona 500 champion Matt Kenseth, looking for another win in the duel. Did you get a good read on the first duel, Matt?
I'm not sure. I was a little confused, but I do know that having a fast car is always important. Our Dollar General Camry's been really fast all week, and you know, watching Kevin and Greg there too both did a great job of putting their car in the right position at the right time. So I thought it was an interesting race. I'm looking forward to getting rolling here and you know, seeing what we got.
All right, handling an even more important issue because the temperatures continue to climb.
I don't really know the answer to that question. I didn't see anybody really. It didn't look like anybody was really handling bad. I don't know if they were or not. It just seemed like it was more to get your car in the right place and get enough other cars to get in that spot with you so you can get that line moving a little bit.
Steve?
Hey, Matt, we've caught up with Clint Boyer. Now, Clint, you were very reluctant to practice yesterday. What did you learn watching the first duel?
Well, you know, not really a lot. I saw that outside obviously prevailed at the beginning, but then as the tires wore out or whatever, the race wore on, the bottom started coming in. I learned that Michael made me very nervous up there. Michael, I know you're watching this. Man, I thought you were going to get past. I was like, go, go, go. But that's what's so much fun about Daytona. You never know what's going to happen. I mean, they got strung out there, and about the time you're like, well, uh-oh, we're in trouble. They're 3 wide again going for it, you know, at the end, and it's a wild, crazy finish. It's just, I love this place, man. It's so much fun to compete here.
Well, see, you did learn.
Well, I don't know exactly. Yeah, of course, you're always learning. I haven't learned how to get to the lead yet. I mean, obviously, Harvick positioned himself pretty well there. 2 tires looked like the right thing to do there on your pit stop. But you never know when a caution's going to come out. Hopefully, you just hope that you're not in the caution.
So you learned that, too.
Yes, don't be in a caution.
Let's go to Hermie.
Well, thank you, Steve. Got Daytona 500 champion Jamie McMurray. Not sure if you'd rather be in a race with your teammate Juan Pablo or not, but he made a pretty good charge at the end of that first duel. What did you guys learn and maybe help you in the second one?
Yeah, he did a great job. Their car, I guess, was really tight at the beginning and just seemed like he couldn't get in the right line. And then at the end, he did a tremendous job to get on the bottom. I mean, you think you got a shot to win when you're that close at the end of one of these races. I don't know that teammate racing is anything like it was when we had the tandem. And as I watched that first race play out, it looked like the top line was kind of the place to be. And then at the end, all of a sudden, the bottom was. So, man, when you watch one of those, you want to hope that you can learn something, but it just looks like whatever lane has the most cars in it, or the lane the 29 car was in, seemed to be the right place.
Well, that's Jamie McMurray. He'll strap in duel number 2. Krista?
All of those drivers were doing exactly what you were doing, watching dual race number 1 on Speed. Now it's their turn to go racing at Daytona. We will bring you dual race number 2 from the Daytona International Speedway. Your home for Speed next. Back in Daytona, we know a lot of folks in the Midwest are dealing with some nasty weather, but we hope you can escape for a little while on a beautiful day like it is today in Daytona, Florida. You know, Daytona's Speed Weeks continues later tonight with Camping World Truck Series practice here on Speed. Tomorrow, 2 sessions of Sprint Cup Series practice, followed by the Camping World Truck Series qualifying and the race here on Speed. Saturday, we've got the final Sprint Cup Series practice session. Our coverage of Daytona's Speed Weeks leading up to the Daytona 500 continues all weekend long on Speed and Fox. Getting you ready for dual race number 2, there's Danica wishing good luck to Ricky Stenhouse, and they've been talking a lot about their friendship and relationship throughout the Speed Weeks, Media Day, and beyond. But now, of course, the talk has been Danica. She will be on the pole because she kept her car intact. Krista Voda alongside Jeff Hammond, Michael Waltrip. So we saw you race in dual race number 1. So spinning ahead to duel number 2. Looked like the high line was the way to go. Oh, nope, maybe the bottom. So what do?
You know what happens when you run high? We were letting off getting into the corner. I was 5 or 6 cars back, and when you go into the corner, you'd roll out of the gas and then get back on the gas and run off. So when you're doing that, if you've got guys that dive to the bottom, the first 6 or 8 of them for a while won't have to let off. So they make all that momentum. I was dying to dive to the bottom because I knew I could pass a few, but if you don't have any help, you can't go down there. The bottom is the way to go at the end if you can get the right help.
Well,
I'm going to say right now, the way this thing's been kind of going, I think there's a lot of pressure on a lot of guys to make it happen. I think this second duel is going to be more interesting and more aggressive than the first.
I think there's still a lot of question marks, and I think that's why it's going to be interesting. Mike said, was that the calm one or was that the wild one? We don't know what we're about to see. The unpredictability is one of our favorite things about this race. Guys like Jeff Gordon, big names, Ryan Newman, Casey Kane will all be racing in dual race number 2. It's time for them to get their command.
And now, for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome your Grand Marshal, 7-Eleven District Manager, Garrick Carter.
Drivers, start your engines.
If you liked what you saw in dual race number 1, well, we've got it for you again. It's dual race number 2 from Daytona. It's a high wire without a net, racing on the high banks. We are racing in Daytona, getting ready for Budweiser Duel race number 2. Clint Boyer is ready to go. Back inside the Hollywood Hotel. In duel race number 1, we saw Patience, a pileup, and Kevin Harvick back in victory lane. So what are we going to see in duel race number 2?
These guys totally went to school. They were watching that high line work, and just when they thought they had it figured out, the high line's where we need to be. Here goes the bottom line making them run. So a lot of questions still to be answered.
Michael, I think that the turning point of that whole race had to have been the pit stop. That green flag pit stop right there, 2 tires or 4 tires, and getting on the pit road.
I know 3 other guys who are ready to go. That's Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, and Darrell Waltrip.
Well, the first of those questions has been answered. The pole sitter gets his choice of starting on the inside or the outside lane, Darrell, and Jeff Gordon has chosen the outside.
See, he probably wouldn't have done that if he was in the first race, because everybody, based on what they knew about the racetrack, would have said the bottom was the place to be. But because he saw how the top prevailed, he likes that. He's going to start on the outside. That's the advantage of being in the second race. You get information from teammates, and you see what the track's going to do. Big advantage.
Now, Larry, we saw green flag pit stops. If we see them again, you're going to get fuel. You need fuel. Do you want to take tires? And if so, 2 or 4?
Well, we know if we see a green flag pit stop that we have probably less than 20 laps to go. I think the precedent has been set. Green flag pit stop, need a good handling race car. You're going to get 2 tires. The thing I'm going to be interested to watch also, Jamie McMurray talked about it. Teammates, we've got Jeff Gordon and Casey Kane starting there. Richard Childress drivers together. But I'm just not sure it matters the way this car is driving and drafting right now.
Well, we had a wild battle for the final transfer spot. Michael Waltrip at the line and Scott Speed there in the final tally. We expect no less, with Jeff Gordon, 3-time 500 winner and 5-time dual winner, on the pole, with Brian Newman on the outside, or inside rather. Casey Kane and Kyle Busch have each won a Budweiser Duel. They're road 2. Matt Kenseth, 3-time 500 winner. Last year he won his duel. His replacement in the number 17 nationwide champ, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Paul Menard, top 10 finish in the last 3 Daytona Cup races. And rookie Austin Dillon in row 4. Clint Boyer, his best dual finish of 2nd came 2 years ago. And Jeff Burton, who won a dual race that year. Jamie McMurray, the 500 winner in 2010, and Marcus Ambrose finished 3rd in his duel last year. Mark Martin never won a duel in 28 starts. He's finished 2nd, and Eric Almirola for Richard Petty. David Reagan, the Daytona 400 winner 2 years ago, and Josh Wise. Michael McDowell with Terry Labonte, who won his duel back in 1989. Teammates in row 10, Dave Blaney and J.J. Yaley for Tommy Baldwin Racing. Then Travis Kvapil and Mike Bliss in the 11th and final row of this 22-car field.
What do you say we talk to rookie Ricky Stenhouse Jr.? Ricky Stenhouse, this is DW. You got a copy there, buddy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Hey, Ricky, it looked like the track changed quite a bit from what you guys have been practicing. I noticed Danica came over, stuck her head in the window. I'm sure you talked to Biffle. What are they telling you, buddy?
It just sounds like everybody was getting a little tight there. We saw that when we were down here testing, at least with our best spot Ford Fusion. So hopefully Scott and the guys made some good adjustments there after listening to Greg and Carl. And hopefully we've got this thing freed up so it keeps the speed up around the top. It looked like to be the fastest line there.
You're a 2-time nationwide champion. How does this car drive compared to your nationwide car?
I'll tell you what, DW, it's not too far off other than the horsepower. I mean, I really feel comfortable in this thing and really looking forward to a great 2013 season. I think these cars are going to be great. NASCAR's done a great job with them. I hope the fans enjoy them as much as we do.
No pressure, buddy, but that 17 was pretty successful here, so good luck.
Thank you, Matt. Did a great job here. Hopefully hopefully we can have a smooth duel here and on to Sunday.
All right, my friend. Good luck.
Thank you.
Ricky Stenhouse will start 6th. Let's go to pit road. Matt Yoakum.
Mike, Ryan Newman starts in the front row. His best finish in the duel was a 3rd the same year, 2008, when he went on to win the Daytona 500. Now remember, Newman told me moments before he climbed inside his race car, this event has a huge impact for Sunday's 500. Why? He lost half the side of his race car during a practice crash, lost a lot of track time. He picked up a few trends watching the first duel, but the biggest thing he says, his car has a lot of speed. He doesn't know how the car will react around other cars. This could be a big, big event for Newman. Steve Burns?
Matt Kenseth has won 2 of the last 4 Daytona 500s. He spent the last 13 seasons at Roush Fenway Racing before moving over to Joe Gibbs Racing. Now, I went to his crew chief, Jason Ratcliffe. I said, hey, I heard Matt's been around the shop a lot. Getting ready to know the guys. And he said, yeah, after the 3rd race of the season, we'll never see him again. He jokingly said, the point is, they're off to a great start with their relationship. I asked Matt Kenseth right before he got in the car if he had a game plan. He said, I do. I'm going to go win this race. Let's go to Hermie Sadler.
Well, Steve, in 2011, Austin Dillon was the Camping World Truck Series champion. 2012, NASCAR Nationwide Series Rookie of the Year, where today he tries to race his way into his very first Daytona 500. And this team is quietly confident after their qualifying speed and drafting practices this week. They think they not only can compete, but contend in the Daytona 500. Mike?
Thanks, Hermie. On the pace lap, getting ready to race here in Daytona. Clint Boyer in that NASCAR commercial says, can I take it for a test drive? He's about to for 150 miles. We listened in on Clint Boyer.
What did you learn? And Harvick was just turning and rolling the center a lot faster than everybody else.
Yeah, he was just slide job like we used to at the old track. Do what we can do, but if there's an open hole, I think we need to get in that top line and go.
Well, that top line sure went when Kevin Harvick was at the head of the line. Otherwise, I'm not sure, Darrell, did we see a whole lot of difference between top and bottom when, say, Trevor Bayne was out front in race 1?
Well, remember, those guys, you know, had that caution, and that kind of grouped everybody up, and that made it kind of equalize out, I think. The weather's, I think it's cooled a little bit. The sun's going down, not bleeding on the track like it was. But I love Boyer. I mean, he's one guy outside the car. He's a wild and crazy guy outside the car. When he puts that helmet on, Larry, he becomes a real serious race car driver.
Beautiful day in Daytona Beach. It's going to get warmer as the week goes on. 72 right now. That eclipses yesterday's high. Light breeze, mostly sunny skies.
But the track itself has cooled down about 10 degrees from that first race, and that's just going to give these drivers more grip with their race cars.
I think this is going to be the crazy race. I think those guys watched that first race. Remember, that thing was pretty organized. Nobody did anything crazy. Just the finish was a little bit wild because of the caution and everything. I think this is going to be a little bit crazier race myself.
I think so too, Darrell. We had only one caution, and it was caused by a single car spin. So we didn't have a lot of the bump and run or calamity or side slamming that we might see here.
I think you're right.
And I think this race has some drivers at the back of the field that need to race their way in. They have pretty fast race cars. I think we saw that yesterday in practice.
Yes, sir. There's a lot of good cars at the back of this field that can run fast.
It's a 45-car entry. That means 23 in race 1 and 22 in this Budweiser Duel. The first 15 finishers, not including Jeff Gordon, who's already locked into the 500 on the front row. First 15 finishers, not including Gordon, will transfer into the 500.
But isn't it a kind of different feeling? We're all worried about Danica, you know, don't do anything, just make sure, you know, bring the car home so you can start on the pole Sunday. Jeff Gordon, we expect him to go out here and win this thing.
And he expects to win.
Yeah.
Now, some drivers know they either have their qualifying speed to fall back on if they don't finish in that top 15. That would be Ryan Newman and Casey Kane. And Clint Boyer and Ricky Stenhouse would be eligible for 2 of the 6 car owner provisionals to make it into the race. For everybody else, you got to race your way in or depend on the fortunes of others. Pace cars in. 60 laps, 150 miles. Green flag. 2 by 2, no advantage.
Mike, they thundered off down through here, and I was just thinking, Sunday there'll be twice this many guys taking the green flag.
Yeah, when they dropped the green flag, Casey Kane in that 5 gave Ryan Newman in the 39 a little bit of a push, but he got off pretty quick.
But look at this, still no clear leader as they come into turn 3. Out of 4, Newman edged ahead. Here comes Gordon on the outside. And lap 1 of the second Budweiser Duel goes to Ryan Newman, half a car late.
And remember, that's a repaired race car. They had a little problem in practice, and they've done a nice job of putting that car back together.
Boyer next to his ex-teammate, Jeff Burton.
Whoa, man, 5 got a great run. Oh, man, I think Newman must have he must have got a little tight off at 2, had to get out of the gas, and that's what happens when you lift.
Yeah, he's going to go from leading that first lap all the way back almost outside the top 15. There's a speed difference right there. You can see it's starting to come back now, but he was about 5 miles per hour slower than the rest of the drivers.
Larry, I'm almost sure he got up off of 2 there, and he had to lift a little bit. The car must have gotten either loose or pushed with him, and that really cost him all his momentum.
Newman finally slots in line 16th, 1 spot away from the last qualified spot, now held by J.J. Yaley. At the top of your screen, those green boxes with the position numbers indicates the drivers who right now are in position to make the Daytona 500.
Should be able to run anywhere you want to right now. The tires are new, they're fresh, going to have grip. It's when you wear the tires down, burn a little fuel off, that's when handling becomes an issue.
Mike Bliss onto the bubble spot in 16th as Jeff Gordon leads from Kyle Busch and Casey Kane on the inside. Josh Wise now into the transfer spot, and that transfer spot is 16th because Jeff Gordon is still among the top 16. Should he fall back, 15th would be the transfer position.
Yeah, Mike Bliss, that 19 right there, he has to race his way in. He was next to the slowest driver in qualifying.
And as he goes past Almirola, he is in position to do just that. They are 15th and 16th right now, the 19 and 43. One big tight draft. Jeff Gordon alone, and then it's 2 by 2 all the way back through 12.
Darrell, watching Jeff Gordon in that 24 car, I was talking to his crew chief, Alan Gustafson, last night, and we know even though he won a lot of races in the Generation 5 car, he was never a fan of it. He has loved this race car, the Generation 6, ever since he stepped foot in it.
Yeah, and Larry, I mean, let's face it, he's on the front row. We know there's speed in that car, and he's using it right now.
Gordon Chevy SS ahead of Busch's Toyota. Kane Chevrolet, Stenhouse in a Ford. And look at that 33, Austin Dillon, Sprint Cup rookie, trying to make his first Daytona 500.
I think what Jeff Gordon wants to do is not have any memories of last year down here because he had a terrible speed week last year.
See Austin Dillon in that 33 car being pushed by his teammate Jeff Burton in the 31. We know the Richard Childress race cars, they have speed. Kevin Harvick's won about everything so far.
Guys, watching this on TV, it looks like this is a parade lap, side by side. Everything's cool. Nobody's pushing anything, right? Well, this is very tense. I mean, they're running 200 miles an hour, and look how Stenhouse is down side drafting off of Casey Kane. That blue car with Best Buy on the hood of it was right against the farmer's car. That's tough sledding right there. You can make a mistake easily. So even though it looks like these guys are chilling, I'm telling you, there's a lot of nerves in those cars right now.
Well, you know, there's no such thing as easy. Easy and a race car do not go together. But let me ask you something. Have you ever played golf with a pro? Have you ever played tennis with a pro? Have you ever tried to hit a fastball? Well, that's what these guys. These are the best drivers in the world, and they make it look easy.
Now that group with Josh Wise leading that group. Travis Quaffle, Dave Blaney, all fighting for that last spot. It comes from this 150 lap race. Blaney has it at the moment.
I think the one thing, if these guys at the back learned anything, I believe it would be that first group. Remember how some of them kind of, the draft broke up a little bit and they fell back a ways, but eventually they were able to pull themselves back up to the lead pack. So there's no need to panic just yet.
And right now, drivers like Travis Quaffle are in the 500 field. Terry Labonte, Jamie McMurray, Mark Martin in 11th. But they are so close to those next four that Dave Blaney in that number 7 for Tommy Baldwin is right now on the bubble. Jeff Gordon is your leader in the second Budweiser Duel. 11 complete. Jeff Gordon still leading. Tomorrow, the world's toughest trucks hit the high banks for the lid lifter for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, 250 miles wide open. Live from Daytona, 7 Eastern on Speed. Jeff Gordon, Casey Kane, Austin Dillon, Jeff Burton, 4 Chevrolets lead the pack with 12 laps complete. Hermie?
Yeah, Mike, the 33 car of Austin Dillon has only reported to his crew that he is a little bit free on entry right now while in traffic, and they reminded him that is exactly the same feedback that teammate Kevin Harvick gave about this lap in the first duel. So things are looking pretty good right now for the 33 and Austin Dillon.
Thanks, Hermie. Mike Bliss, the slowest qualifier on time trials in this race, trailing the pack. And NASCAR informs us that the window net in the driver's side window has come down. That is a safety violation. He's going to have to come to pit road to have that reaffixed.
Trust me, you can't put it up. The driver cannot do it by himself. It takes 2 people to put that net back in there.
And we documented, because of his qualifying, the only chance he has of getting in the Daytona 500 is race his way in, and this is really going to put a damper on that.
That's 13 complete.
The best seat in the house right now, Larry, that 24 car. He's looking out his front windshield. He doesn't see anything. He's looking in his rearview mirror, and he sees a teammate. He's a happy can.
That'll be Casey Kane. Then the Chevrolet Childress teammates, Dillon and Burton. Kyle Busch's Toyota, Marcus Ambrose in a Ford.
How about old Burton? He likes these Daytona and Talladega, these super speedways, restricted plate tracks. He has an incredible record on these super speedways.
Ryan Newman's dropped back a bit. That moves Travis Quaffle and Dave Blaney to fight it out for the transfer spot at the moment. Steve?
Mike, Matt Kenseth's just a little bit loose on entry. This is a tough place to break in a new spotter. He's working with Chris Osborne for the first time down here in Speed Weeks after many years with Mike Kalanoff atop the roof. Kalanoff now with the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse.
Well, based on Kevin Harvick in that first duel, a little loose right now may not be bad. As you can see, they are working to get that window net up on Mike Bliss's 19 car as he's on pit road.
Yeah, Larry, we mentioned as you burn off fuel, you pick up nose weight. Once you pick up a little nose weight and burn off a little fuel, the back of the car comes up a little bit and the car tightens up and you're ready to go somewhere.
Well, Jeff Gordon just ran his quickest lap of the race as he has led from the start. Matt?
Mike chasing his 11th victory in the duel, leading a 9-car breakaway. And Gordon's been very quiet on the radio to his team, but he did tell his spotter, Long Islander Eddie DeHunt, I know at a certain point we're going to have a second group drop down and form another lane. Keep me posted when it happens, and also the momentum shift that also may take place because he can always dive down. But he said it's going to develop, and it's another good learning tool for Sunday.
I just think we're all. This is a different racetrack than we had at the first one. We started the other race at 2 o'clock. Here it is going up to close to 4:30, and the track has cooled dramatically, and that makes a huge difference, right, Mikey?
Daryl, and I'm going to bet you that Kyle Busch starts that lower line. We were in a meeting with him the other day, and he absolutely does not like riding in line. He says it's boring. I don't want to do that. It's hard, but he doesn't like it. So watch for him to dive to the bottom in that 18 car. I believe he'll start it, and his teammate Matt Kenseth is only a couple cars back. He's probably going to join him. Could get a little fun here.
Yeah, they got to get up. You got to get up there and help him, though. He can't drop down by himself, or he'll be behind Matt Kenseth.
There's Kenseth's number 20, the new hire at Joe Gibbs Racing. for 2013. And he's just 2 spots behind Kyle Busch with Marcus Ambrose in between. Let's go up to 3rd place. Race rookie and grandson of team owner Richard Childress, Austin Dillon.
The 18 is 2 back behind the 31, and he looks antsy. He'll make something try to happen here before long. I'll just keep you posted.
Well, I think that pretty much supports what Michael was anticipating.
Now, you know what I like about that? Everybody knows that he's the one that's going to make something. Michael knows, and Dylan knows. Everybody knows.
There's over 100,000 people in this grandstand
they
that
all know. That's
Kyle
why they
Busch,
love him.
Wild thing as he was in his younger days, he will make something happen. "20 laps complete. Jeff Gordon leading. Aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. Call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. 8 cars by themselves with a pack of 4 led by Paul Menard trying to run down the front group.
We've been watching those 4 drivers, and they have tightened up. They've started running the bottom of the racetrack. In the last 2 or 3 laps, they've been about a half a second quicker than that top 8.
Watch that front group. They are starting to compress when they come up off the corner. Particularly, I noticed more off turn 4, but I believe their cars are tightening up, and they're having to squeeze up out of the throttle just a little bit, and it's causing that front group to have to lift, and that's allowing those 4 back there behind them to come on like a freight train.
They're going to be there in another half a lap to 3/4 of a lap. They are really coming, but look at them right at the bottom of the track.
I love it. Man, this is, folks, I've never had you don't know what it feels like to be in one of these things when it flips up into banking, and you're getting a chance to ride along just like the drivers do. That is an amazing piece of equipment right there. You try to tell people at home what it feels like. Well, this is what it looks like.
And Paul Menard is there. He, Jamie McMurray, Ricky Stenhouse, and Clint Boyer have caught the lead pack.
Same thing we saw with his teammate Kevin Harvick in the 29. We're getting close to about halfway through this thing. Started running the bottom.
Matt?
And down in the 1 pit, Juan Pablo Montoya, teammate to Jamie McMurray, has climbed on top of the pit box. He's trying, like so many other drivers, not in this race but in Duel 1, trying to learn as much as they can for Sunday's 500. Right now, he's hearing on the radio that McMurray is saying his car is just getting tighter and tighter as the run goes on. Look for a significant adjustment when they hit pit road for their stop.
Matt Kenseth and Paul Menard came so close to trading paint off turn 4. That was almost too close.
That's what I'm seeing off of turn 4 right now, Mike. These guys are looking like some of them are having to lift just a little wee bit, and that's really causing a bottleneck.
But that killed the momentum of Paul Menard in that group. You'll see it right here. Kenseth was trying to slide down in front of Menard, Darrell.
Well, you know, I've been watching. I've watched Matt Kenseth in the shootout or in the unlimited. And watched him in practice. I watched him today. He's having trouble getting people to work with him. Wonder why?
Well, that may have something to do with Friday's practice and what just went on right there.
I'm telling you. He's got a fast car. We've seen him make great moves in the car, but he just can't get anybody to want to help him.
The transfer spot right now belongs to David Reagan, and he is 4.5 seconds ahead of Dave Blaney. So no drama there. As Clint Boyer pulls alongside Paul Menard, this is for 9th place.
And you want to know how those 4 guys got behind? Well, this is how they got behind the first time.
Steve?
Mark Martin at the tail end of that first pack. He's saying that his car is a little tight on corner exit. We've heard that from several drivers.
Mark Martin in 8th.
And that's what happened to a lot of drivers in that first duel race. Again, we're about 4 or 5 laps shy of halfway.
And once again, it's 8 cars, a gap, 4 cars, a gap, and 4 more.
But look at these race cars. I mean, we know that that's a Chevrolet in the front. We can see that. We see that these are Chevrolets, that they're Toyotas, and that they're Fords. These are amazing race cars. I can't get over the job that the manufacturers and working with NASCAR have done with the identity of these cars.
Such a game changer, Darrell. You park this car next to its street-going counterpart, and they are appearing the same.
And you know what? Drivers, they like a good-looking race car. And they get excited. Everybody's excited about racing this thing. It's what I love. Makes me want to crawl up in one of them.
Hendrick Chevy teammates on point, Jeff Gordon and Casey Kane. Richard Childress Chevrolet teammates, Austin Dillon and Jeff Burton. Right behind them, then Kyle Busch's Toyota and Marcus Ambrose Ford. That's the first half dozen. Halfway in the Budweiser Duel at Daytona, Kyle Busch has made his move. He's gone down to the inside, and who went with him? Nobody.
Yeah, because right now, even his teammate, Matt Kenseth, in the 20 stayed up top, so Kyle Busch in the 18 will be able to fall back in behind him.
Coming around off turn 4. How about a NASCAR on Fox Thursday afternoon? Crank it up. Turn 4 back to the line to complete 33 laps. 8th place Mark Martin has caught the lead pack, and he has brought Paul Menard, Ricky Stenhouse with him, along with Clint Boyer. This time it's Boyer down on the inside by himself.
That 27 car is obviously fast there. He's pulled the groups up to the front, up to the lead pack there a couple of times. If he got somebody to go with him, I believe he could go somewhere.
Well, and I think while ago when he was pulling that group, had Matt Kenseth in the 20 not jumped down in front of him and busted him up, I think he would have pulled him a lot further up than he pulled him that first time.
9 cars in the lead pack. In about another lap here, it's going to be 16 of them. Ricky Stenhouse bringing that second group along.
Yeah, it's almost like Stenhouse in the 17, Boyer in the 15 lost touch with the front group, but here comes Jamie McMurray in the one that was pulling another 5 or 6 drivers with him up toward the front.
Remember, there will be one pit stop to complete the 60-lap distance. You can't go 60 on a tank of fuel. Will they stop under green, or will we have a caution? Danica Patrick on top of the hauler, looking on.
I think this year, her and Ricky running for a Rookie of the Year, running against each other, that's going to be something to keep an eye on all year long.
Yeah, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in that 17, of course, he's run 5 Sprint Cup Series races, but now he's going to be running full-time just like Danica Patrick will be.
Paul Menard's dropped down to the low side by himself. Will he pick up those 3 cars behind him and work his way back to the lead draft?
Yeah, it's tough sledding when you just get in that gap he's in right there. You're going to have some help to get back up there. Here comes Boyer.
We're only about 4, 5, 6 laps away from green flag pit stops. I keep thinking back to that first dual race. What really got Trevor Bayne in trouble was that he got in too hot, got knocked out in the infield grass, and slid the front tires, was forced to go with 4. Making a green flag pit stop here, Darrell, can be pretty treacherous.
Yeah, when we watch these guys practice their pit stops almost to a car, they lock up that right front coming off of the track on the pit lane, and several guys blew out right front tires like Trevor did.
That second pack a little more spaced car to car than the first pack, and up in turn 2 carrying a little more speed. Now pretty close to even.
It's about a mile-per-hour difference right there. It just keeps floating, but definitely that second pack with Menard, the 27's pulling them, they're not any quicker right now.
I think they just got to commit to that bottom. Last time I got up there and they all wanted to jump in line because they don't want to lose the draft, but I think if these guys that hang together, the 4 of them right there, and just push to the bottom and keep working it, it might work out for them.
Final transfer car now is Travis Kvapil in the 93. He is 8 seconds ahead of Dave Blaney.
Yeah, he's running completely by himself right now with no help. You can see him right there.
But with no challenges either.
Well, I think I go back to that first Budweiser Duel race, and the way these guys are bunched up, as long as you don't have a problem getting on pit road, I think there's no question. 2 right side tires and probably about a half a can of fuel.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to sit there and put fuel in the thing. You don't need that much fuel. Get you some tires and get enough gas, get to the end and be done.
But it's one of those stops where so much riding on the driver's shoulders about how he gets on and off pit road.
Well, you've been running around here, Larry, and your brakes are cold, and you run quite a bit of brake here because you do have to make these fast pit stops. So inevitably, you lock that right front up and slide it. You're going to change that one. That's okay. You just don't want to mess that left front up.
Here comes Menard for 8th against Mark Martin. And Martin's getting help from his Michael Waltrip Racing teammate Clint Boyer up on the outside.
Now that could be a good little combination. Clint and Mark get together there, the 55 and the 15, see if they can go somewhere.
What a difference a year makes. Not only are these new Fords, Chevys, and Toyotas very recognizable at a distance, but the racing is so different. No longer do you need a partner to bump draft with, to get to, or stay at the front. It's pack racing. Whether single, double, or triple file, it's exciting to watch.
And we talked about teammates, and we got a lot of teammates up there in the top 6 or 7. You've got Jeff Gordon and Casey Kane. Then you've got Austin Miller and Burton, who Burton now comes down to the bottom as we're starting to see some green flag pit stops.
Eric Almirola, fuel only. Dave Blaney, right side tires. Same for Josh Wise.
Boy, this is going to be ugly.
Here they come.
All over each other. Oh, Mo.
And around goes Newman.
Newman spins. Did he hit the outside wall?
No, he saves it. Down to the apron.
We stay green.
Gordon, Kane, Dillon, Burton on pit road. Hermie.
Casey Kane hits his marks here. It'll be 2 right side tires. Sunoco fuel, no adjustments. Matt.
First live pit stop of the year for the 24 guys. Chassis adjustment. Gordon said the car was good at the beginning of the run, but then got tighter and tighter.
Pit road clears. We stay green as Ryan Newman limps around the apron down in turn number 1.
Yeah, he's got a right front tire down. If he goes very fast, that tire will come apart. Man, look at this. This is another.
Matt Kenseth leads him in, coming in hot. Got to get down to pit road speed along with Busch, Ambrose, and more. Steve.
And Mike, Matt Kenseth comes to a nice, clean stop right where he needed to. It looks like gas only for the 20 of Matt Kenseth. Matt.
And Steve, his teammate Kyle Busch comes to a stop. Same game plan for Busch. Fuel only for the 18, and he's away.
Boyer also fuel only. Oh, boy.
We'll just serve the penalty. Serve the penalty. Pass through, Eddie. Yeah.
That is Alan Gustafson to spotter Eddie DeHaan. Jeff Gordon was too fast entering pit road. He'll have to do a drive-through penalty.
That's certainly not what he wants to hear, but it's not what Casey Kane, his teammate, wants to hear, because look how far these 2 drivers are in front of everyone else. He's going to have no partner once Jeff Gordon hits pit road.
Let's go back and watch what happened to the 39 of Ryan Newman. He's at the back of that pack, back behind Jamie McMurray.
Yeah, he looked like he was thought he might run over McMurray. cut back out onto the racetrack, and when he did, he spun the car out. Now he's got a right front tire flat, and he had to just creep around or he'll tear the whole front end off the car.
Ricky Stenhouse, Terry Labonte, too fast exiting pit road.
And that's an area where I know it's very difficult. You leave pit road down there, you leave that last pit box, you think you've cleared, but the line, the cone, is another pit box away, almost out on the racetrack. It's very easy to speed there.
So Gordon and Stenhouse have served their penalties. Brian Newman has made it back to pit road without further incident, and we stay green with 18 laps to go.
Now, the penalties they're serving is what we call a drive-through. They do not have to stop in their pit box. Just come down pit road, maintain that 55 miles per hour pit road speed.
But what a contrast. One of our most experienced drivers, he has a pit road penalty. Our rookie contender, Ricky Stenhouse, he has a pit road penalty. So it's no really rhyme nor reason. It's just overdriving the pits.
And let's set the stage with 17 laps to go. There you see Jeff Gordon getting back up to speed. We have the 3 Toyotas that are up there by themselves at the lead pack. And then you go back about 3.5 seconds back, 4 Chevrolets in a Toyota.
So now with Jeff Gordon out of the top 15 due to penalty, Travis Kvapil is on the bubble. Of the Budweiser Duel at Daytona is presented by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds. Brought to you by Sprint. Millions of fans, one family, only Sprint can feed them all. Join the family at sprint.com/speed. And by Toyota. Let's go places. 47 laps complete, 13 to go. 3 Toyotas were leading the pack. Busch, Boyer, and Mark Martin. They've been caught by Casey Kane. The green backgrounds in the position numbers indicate drivers who are locked into the Daytona 500 as of their running position right now. It's the top 15 cars in the race, not including the pole sitter, Jeff Gordon. He already has a spot in the 500. So that means with him up there, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who is 16th in line, is in the transfer spot.
We saw those guys, Darrell, pull out. Kyle Busch, the Toyotas, Clint Boyer and Matt Kenseth, and they got a pretty good gap. But, man, did they ever get run down. And from what I felt from behind the wheel, I wanted tires. I think these tires are giving up. The cars are slipping around. So if you get tires, I believe there's a little bit of speed in them. And, man, we saw the fastest speeds of Speed Week where these guys marched to the front. They ran over 200 miles an hour catching that front pack.
Tell you what I want that 27 behind me, because that 27 is fast. He looks like Kevin Harvick, the way he can run the bottom and he can run where he wants to. He's pretty fast.
Wow. They used Casey Kane up in the 5, and he just barely slid down in front of Jeff Burton in the 31. I think both of them had to check up.
Yeah, that was almost a mess.
Casey Kane, the number 5, has the fastest lap of the race. Now that pack has closed right up on the back of Clint Boyer, Steve.
At Clint Boyer, a little bit of a gamble here. We talked about risk reward. They took no tires on that stop. Consequently, they may not have gotten enough fuel in the car. Crew Chief Brian Paddock saying, save, save, save. We'll let you know when you can go.
Poor Boyer. That's all he ever hears at the end of every race.
Even in a 150-mile race.
And we're just running 150 miles.
Now 3 cars behind that is rookie Austin Dillon, driving the number 33 Chevrolet. Hermie.
Well, Mike, when the 33 of Dillon came to pit road, they got 2 right side tires and a track bar adjustment. His car was too loose. They had him holding on to the back of the 31 of Jeff Burton. Now he has passed the 31. He's hanging on to the back of the 5. Very impressive run so far for Austin Dillon.
Absolutely.
And Mike, I mentioned Matt Kenseth a little bit ago, and like he was having trouble getting people to work with him. But think about this. His longtime spotter, Mike Kalanoff, the only spotter he's ever had, he's only ever driven for the Roush organization. And so he and Jimmy Finning have been together for a long time. He is in whole new surroundings, and I think Matt's just going through some adjustments.
Darrell, it just appears that they keep searching around right now, because I think we documented it in the first duel. You cannot wait to the last lap or the last corner. You better be figuring things out now.
Well, we're seeing these fast speeds, Larry, because the track temp's gone down, the ambient temp's gone down, and these cars are liking it.
Guys, don't you think it's interesting? We saw Jeff Gordon leading the pack. He liked the high side. Kyle Busch has dropped to the bottom and led him for several laps. But, man, there's a lot going on behind these guys. Matt Kenseth, big push to Clint Boyer. He gets around Kyle Busch. Which way will Kenseth go? He stays on the high side. This is what we've been waiting for. These guys to really mix it up.
Well, Clint Boyer got clearance on, he didn't get clearance. He got half a car length on Kyle Busch and just stalled out in the low lane.
Clear behind him, quick. Get up there, get up there, get up there, get up there, get up there. Quick, 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 quick.
That was great move. Great job by the spotter to get him in that hole right there, because that was close.
Well, and you would think also probably Mark Martin, his teammate in that 55, give him a little bit of a break there.
If I was going to squeeze in front of somebody, I would hope it'd be Mark Martin.
Josh Wise now in the last transfer spot, 16th, as he and Ricky Stenhouse draft together.
And he had to start at the rear of the field because of an engine change before this dual race.
Now the leaders are going to inhale them in a couple of laps here and put them a lap down, but fear not. In the first race, David Gilliland got a lap down, but when the caution came out and he got the free pass, got back in position and raced his way into the 500.
Well, we're coming to 6 to go, so this thing is winding down here, and I'm thinking that Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth are pretty happy where they are. I think the wild card is going to be the 5 and the 33, and if they decide to try to make a move together.
We're going to lap Travis Kvapil right here. Kvapil still racing for a spot in the 500. Right now he is one position away. From Josh Wise, if he can tack on to these leaders, he might be able to draft right up and battle for the bubble spot.
And just look, I mean, we've got 2 Toyotas, 2 Chevrolets, and 2 more Toyotas. So the 2 Chevys, if they're going to do anything, they're going to have to do it together.
Kvapil tried, didn't work, Larry. Couldn't quite hang with the leaders.
Well, there's one more player back there that he might can hook on to, Paul Menard in that 27. Right now, Paul is by himself about 5 car lengths behind Travis Kvapil.
And Kvapil's target is that white number 35 of Josh Wise. Down on the inside behind Ricky Stenhouse. Wise is in the last transfer spot. 5 to go as they cross the line.
Looks like Travis Kvapil just can't hang on to anybody when they go by him.
It's been 4 years since Kyle Busch won one of these 150-mile qualifying races.
Yeah, you see right there 191 miles per hour, 190. Those guys up there in that big pack, 8 to 10 miles per hour quicker than Travis Kvapil.
And Larry, you know, I told you for somebody I wanted to slide in front of, I wouldn't mind it being Mark Martin. If there was somebody I really wouldn't want to try to pass on the last lap, it'd be Kyle Busch. There's some thinking going on right now, boys. Everybody's sitting here trying to figure out, what am I going to do?
We know you can't wait till the last lap, Darrell. When do you make your move?
Well, you know, down here in the past, you come off turn 4, you get a side draft, you had a shot. Doesn't look like that's happening this time. When do you make your move? When somebody says they'll make it with you. You got to have some help.
Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth are former adversaries. Busch with Toyota, previously Chevrolet. Kenseth's been in a Ford all this time. This is their first speed week as teammates.
I know one thing. We talk about, are there team orders, and most guys would say no. Right now in this race, I'd say no. I would say that Casey Kane would be happy to go with Matt Kenseth if he decides to make a move.
And will Casey Kane take a chance with that rookie behind him, Austin Dillon, the other Chevrolet in this group?
I don't think he can, Larry, because the 2 Toyotas behind him will close the door on them, and they'll be hung out to dry. This move's got to come from Matt Kenseth. If Matt makes the move, Casey will go with him.
2 Toyotas, 2 Chevys, 2 more Toyotas in that lead pack of 6 as we come down to the final 2.5 laps.
Think about what Matt Kenseth just told Steve Burns before the race. I'm going to win this race.
Well, we know, we've said all week he's got a fast car. We've seen him make great moves and have showed a lot of speed. Just hadn't been able to get in the right spot. But he's in the right spot right now. know what Matt has? He has winning experience.
Yes, he does.
Michael, these cars are about a car length or half a car length apart with wind buffeting in between them. It looks like traffic out on I-4, but how white-knuckled is this right now?
Mike, they're running 200 miles an hour. Look at that big wall right beside them. It is very tough to hold your line. The cars are wanting to push, especially, you see how high Kyle drifted on the way off? That's because the car is not handling properly. They've got all they want right now.
White flag, boys. Here we go. Here goes the 5.
The 33, Austin Dillon goes with him.
That's
Kane
what
to
it's
the
going to take.
inside, Boyer to the outside, and Kyle Busch comes down to the inside to cover.
And now Matt Kenseth in the 20, he's going to be the real loser. Goes all the way back to almost the back of this pack. I don't think Kane is finished yet.
Didn't see that coming.
Tell you what, that 5 is
that same thing at that same run, halfback 33 and 15.
The 33 needs to get a little tighter on the 5 if they're going to make a charge.
Casey Kane, will he have room on the bottom? Inside Kyle Busch. Here they come to the flag. Busch, Kane, Dillon, Boyer, single file, Kane to the bottom, runs out of real estate and time. Samantha celebrates Kyle Busch's second win in the Budweiser Duel. And at the last transfer spot, one lap back, Dave Blaney pulls up into 15th and Josh Wise 16th. Moves to the Daytona 500.
Make the Daytona 500, including the purse today, it's worth a little over $250,000 to these drivers.
Nice run for the Riverside, California driver. He is in the Great American Race. As Kyle Busch beats Casey Kane to the line by 9/100ths of a second. In a caution-free race that averages just shy of 194 miles an hour with a pit stop.
You know, the way this young man, Kyle Busch, ended 2012, the run he had in the chase, even though he was not in the chase, I just feel like he's going to have a good year this year. Starting it off on the right foot, winning this Budweiser Duel race.
What do you have, 7 top 5 finishes in the chase, I think it was.
And the number of laps he led was unbelievable.
Led the most laps in a number of races, so great win for Kyle.
And the two drivers who go to victory lane today are known as two of the most aggressive drivers in the sport, Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch.
And I don't think they're on each other's Christmas card list either.
Probably not. Toyota, Chevy, Toyota, Toyota, the top 5 with the first Ford. Nice drive for David Reagan, who came up for 10th spot ahead of Marcus Ambrose in 11th. You have just seen the second fastest Budweiser Duel race in history.
Wow, that's big.
193.95 miles an hour. And here is your order of finish. Top 10 drivers race in.
Good run for David Reagan in that 34 top 10 finish.
Along with the next 6 drivers.
Pretty nice recovery by Jeff Gordon to come back and be 12th after a pit road penalty.
And unofficially, it'll be Mike Bliss. We'll be going home from this Budweiser Duel. 45-car entry, 43-car field for the 500. Hermie?
Well, a happy Austin Dillon getting some congratulations from crew. It's not a bad job for a rookie in your first duel. Came home third, and a solid ride for the Daytona 500.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, after that first one, we still weren't in it, so got a little nervous before that, and just stayed in it all day and rode that top line. I ran behind Casey the whole time. I was waiting for a Chevy to get in the victory lane right there, but just couldn't get enough of a run at Kyle. His car was really good, but I want to thank Honey Nut Cheerios for giving me this opportunity. Tag Heuer Eyewear and Advocare, man. This is awesome feeling, and I'll always remember the first one.
Talk about your expectations now. You've now gone from trying to make the race to you got a pretty good ride right here.
Yeah, we got a good hot rod. Just this thing's all about being there at the end, go into conservation mode early, and then get them at the end.
That's Austin Dillon. he is in the Daytona 500.
Wow, 22 years old, and he'll be in the race on Sunday.
That's a young man you're going to be hearing about for a long time.
I think so.
Lots of talent.
Matt?
A big congratulations from Stephen Lane. Congratulations to you. You're in the Great American Race.
Oh, man, it's awesome. It's a huge amount of stress lifted off our shoulders. You know, we had to play a pretty safe race there just because of what we were trying to do. We knew if we just stayed out of trouble and ran our race, we'd get in the transfer there. And I just can't thank Bob Jenkins and Jerry Freeze and all the guys at Front Row Motorsports and Blockbuster and Cajun Industries for coming on. We got sponsors for this race, and we're ready to go do it.
For your fans at home, how stressful was today?
It's a lot of stress, man, because you kind of see how the race gets out of sequence there, and guys lose the draft, and it only takes one mistake on pit road there, and you can put yourself in a pretty tough position for trying to make it. So the guys did a good job on pit road, and we did what we had to do, so it's pretty cool.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, I think a lot of our questions about how this car will race have been answered. I'm really looking forward to Sunday's Daytona 500.
I think it's racy. I mean, we saw a lot of side-by-side racing in that first race. We saw a lot of good drafting in the second race. Guys might want to work on their pit stops, getting in and getting off. But other than that, I thought it was a great race.
Can Kevin Harvick become the first driver in the 35-year history of the Sprint Unlimited race to win the Sprint Unlimited, the Budweiser Duel, and the Great American Race, the Daytona 500?
Good question. Kyle Busch ready to climb out. He has won his second Budweiser Duel, and Steve Burns is there to greet him.
Kyle Busch, much better result than Saturday night. What did you learn out here today for the Daytona 500?
It's hard to pass the leader, you know, just stay out front. When you can get out front, you can run pretty good and just try to hold everybody off behind you, you know. There wasn't enough lane-by-lane racing, I'd call it here, but it's awesome to be able to put the M&M's Camry in victory lane. You use those tools to your advantage as best you can when you learn what's going on when the race is around you. And can't say enough about everybody at M&M's, Interstate Batteries, Toyota, Sprint. Thanks, Sprint, for being here, and appreciate those guys. It's great to refresh here in victory lane with a Monster Energy, and cool the fans come out here to watch the Budweiser Duels today. We appreciate them and everybody out there on TV.
Yeah, a huge crowd here at Daytona International. Kyle, were there any moves that you made, maybe trying to drop down to the bottom, that did not work?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think we saw a lot of that with the 27 car trying to make the bottom come up. Never could get it to go, but I tried it there that one time. Everybody was checking up, getting into the corners, and I knew there wasn't a gap for me to get back in, but I was like, well, maybe if I side draft the 31 enough, I can pull him back and I can get up in line and start making moves that way, but it didn't work like that. So I didn't have much to lose. You know, I only had two cars that were behind me to single me out, to push me backwards, so I figured, what the heck, I might as well give it a try, see what happens. And coming to pit road there, that's what won us the race, you know, just being able to beat those guys, over-braking them, getting into the pits, and not sliding any tires, so we could take that advantage to not have to take any tires under the pit stop. Dave Rogers made a great call there to just take fuel only, get us out front, and had a great teammate behind me pushing me with Matt Kenseth there at the end, and just trying to go down in order. I know he didn't get second, so he could start behind into 500, but those guys behind him got a little bit antsy.
Yeah, that new kid, Kenseth.
Yeah, something like that.
Let's go to Hermie.
Well, I've got that teammate, Matt Kenseth. Kyle Busch giving you some props in victory lane for helping him get the victory lane. But Darrell Waltrip says to have a faster car as you got, you're sure not getting a lot of help on the racetrack. How are you going to fix that between now and Sunday?
I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to do all the right things. I saw the 5 coming. I knew he was going to try the bottom. Typically, the top's been a little quicker. And so I stayed up with my teammate there trying to help him out. And I knew the 15 and 55 were back there, and the 5 went under, and I knew 33 go with him. And I figured I'd stall him out, and them guys would come behind me. And the last minute, Clint went left, and I was the only one sitting out there, so I knew I was in trouble. But overall, we got some pretty good speed. I just gotta think through my moves a little bit better and try to make the right moves. I probably should have made the move on Kyle before the 5 could get the move on me and try to get the win there. I just waited, I guess, a little too long. So we'll keep working out. We got a really fast car, and hopefully we'll do the right things on Sunday.
That's Matt Kenseth, still learning how to draft with this car. Mike?
Well, he's the defending champion of the 500. Kyle Busch celebrates in victory lane along with Kevin Harvick earlier in today's Budweiser Duel at Daytona.
It was an unusually quiet season for Kyle Busch last year, making it to victory lane only once. He ends the day in victory lane today as dual race winner number 2. So Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick, today's winners. So we learned a lot. Chris Devoda, Jeff Hammond, Michael Waltrip. The big question, of course, what did we learn for the Daytona 500? We're students, too. What do we know?
Hi, driver. We know there's a couple of distinct lines. You can run high and have success, and you can run low and have success. And remember, we're going to double up the size of the field, so we're going to have people doing both of those things and trying to figure it out. You can't wait till that last lap to make a pass, it doesn't look like. We saw that not work Saturday night in the shootout, and it didn't work in the race here today either. So I like planning my move early and hoping, like heck, like Darrell said, that somebody goes with me. I need some help.
And if you got these cars too tight, Chris, they're not going to run off the corner and down that back straightaway like you need to. They'll be able to make a pass. So I think it's just something as far as crew chief's concerned, very concerned about how this racetrack was going to be today. It didn't get hot and slick like we expected. So, again, valuable information for Sunday. We'll be playing the weather card once again come Sunday morning.
That's what I was just going to say. It's going to be a lot different handling come Sunday. Jeff Gordon was on the pole for dual race number 2. Here you see Ryan Newman fall into the back of the field early.
Yeah, he had damage on that car right there. Fell like a rock early on.
Check out Matt Kenseth. He's trying to block the low line, and what he did, he successfully did just that, slowed their momentum.
But then Michael called this shot. Kyle Busch going low early, but nobody goes with him.
No, but I told you right now, this is going to be the deciding point, was a pit stop, and this is what happened to Ryan Newman. Coming there a little too hot. He's going to run the back of somebody, spins the 39 car, ends his day.
And that was ugly for Ryan Newman, but this is equally as ugly. Jeff Gordon having to come back to pit road for speeding on pit road, a very costly penalty.
Yeah, but Kyle Busch, like you said, it was so hard to pass, so his crew helping him as well. He was able to win the race. And let's go back to the Jeff Gordon pit stop, though. That was coming on pit road. He had the issue, and he had led 38 laps prior to that. This is the exchange between the team of the 24 and David Hoots of NASCAR in race control.
24, 2 fast intersections, 4 and 5, pass through.
Got a speed ticket entering section 4 and 5. Saying that I got one? Yes. Okay, well, we got a major problem with the tach, and I was way under. All right, guys, what do you want me to do? We'll just serve the penalty.
And Michael, the thing is right now, as far as the driver's concerned, a lot of times, can the tachometer be off? Could that really been the problem, or was he literally just not paying attention?
Well, you've got lights, and they're bright. If you have green lights, you're good. If they turn red, you're bad. Your job is to push that as far as you can when you're trying to win this race. In my case, just trying to make it, I had a bunch of green lights, and I was being very conservative.
And the thing is right now, when you talk about pit stops, that took him out of a potential opportunity to win this duel today because he definitely had a fast race car.
And we know if passing is difficult, those pit crews even more important. So let's take a look at the starting grid for the 55th running of the Daytona 500. As we said, Danica Patrick, Jeff Gordon, they were locked into the front row if they kept their race cars intact, which they did. But we see a lot of big names lurking not far behind.
That 29 car right now has got my attention. He is definitely the class of the field, at least early part of speed weeks.
And don't forget Greg Biffle. That's a really fast Ford. So I think you're looking at Harvick and Biffle as two guys you're going to have to beat on Sunday.
And you mentioned Harvick. How about his teammate Paul Menard there in row 8? He was very fast today. Michael, you even said, if Paul Menard's behind me, that's a good thing.
Yeah, you like to have fast cars pushing, and there's just a few of them after all the racing we've done so far this week. You kind of put a circle around them and know they're going to be tough.
Yeah, well, somebody's going to be tough. Even though he didn't have the day we were looking for and expecting out of him, Dale Earnhardt Jr. back there in row 10. He may be starting back there, but don't look for him to stay back there very long.
And further back in the field, there you see some of the guys there. We see Michael right there in row 15.
I like row 15 a lot. That's a good place to start.
I'm just not used to seeing you in the 26. I keep missing that number.
We talked about some of the drama. Scott Speed able to race his way in, as well as Josh Wise. And these are some of the guys who've had trouble. Carl Edwards, man, has he had a tough season.
I mean, he's been involved in 5 crashes since he's been to Daytona. I mean, Trevor Bayne, you can pretty much tell the despair in his voice and the look after he crashed his car. And here's some guys who were able to get in. Terry Labonte, the veteran, able to qualify in row 21, and J.J. Elliott. How about Michael McDowell right there? Guy used to drive for you, making it in the Daytona 500.
Yeah, his car has K-Love on it. That makes me feel good. I'm glad the K-Love car.
You like the love?
I love love.
That was the Budweiser Daytona 500 starting grid. There you saw the 2 drivers who failed to make the race, Mike Bliss and Brian Keselowski. So Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, they're our winners today. Of course, these races don't pay any points, but you learn a whole lot for Sunday's Daytona 500. And Jeff Gordon has said if you're going to win on Sunday, you really have to race in these races to know what you have now more than ever with this new car.
You know, Michael, I got a question for you right here. We talked about all the drama and all the concern about getting through the 150. Guess what, buddy? You still got some practice sessions.
Well, what I love about today's race, I got to run a lot of green flag laps. We made a pit stop. We understood what 2 tires did. We watched Kyle Busch not take any tires. He won the race on the same 4 tires he started with. So if I'm Kyle Busch, I'm just going to wipe that baby down and be ready for Sunday. That thing is fast. It handled well. A lot of people are experiencing a tight condition in their cars. The front end not wanting to turn in the corners. So there'll be a lot of other guys that need some work.
Well, I know a guy who may be a player on Sunday. That's Casey Kane. He's with Matt Yoakum.
What a battle to the finish. 4 Toyotas, 2 Chevys. You made your move. Did you make it at the right time, or should you made it a little earlier?
Well, maybe a lap earlier, but I felt like that's where Austin was pushing the most, and I could feel the air change. But the lap before, we didn't have a good push going through there, so I wanted to do it with 2 and see if we could do a little better, but it worked at 1 to go, and we just couldn't get to Kyle. But it was still a great run for our Farmers Insurance Chevrolet SS. 1 stop, and it was a really good 2-tire stop, and we learned some things for Sunday, so I'm excited about where we're sitting right now.
You learned some things, so you have a really good feel about what you got from this race car and maybe score your first 500 win on Sunday?
Well, to win a 500, that'd be amazing, but it would be very difficult at the same time. So we're just keep trying to get better at that point, but we've gained a lot since the sprint race on Saturday night to where we're at right now, and I feel like if we gain just a little bit more, we'll be in the hunt come Sunday afternoon.
Casey Kane second, chasing him first on Sunday.
And you saw on his face to win the Daytona 500, the big smile already starting. Of course, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, they are your winners in today's Budweiser Duel. Who will win on Sunday? We will wrap things up coming up. The preparation is not over yet. Still a lot more to come here at Daytona Speed Weeks. Continues later tonight with Camping World Truck Series practice right here on Speed. Tomorrow, 2 sessions of Sprint Cup Series practice, followed by Camping World Truck Series qualifying and racing, also right here on Speed. You're home for all the action in Daytona. And then on Saturday, we've got the final Sprint Cup Series practice session. All the drivers will be tense and alert. Our coverage of Daytona Speed Weeks leading up to the Daytona 500 continues all weekend long on Speed and Fox. Well, NASCAR's version of musical chairs is over. Now for drivers, it's time to anticipate, lose sleep, hope, and dream that their name will be the one everyone is talking about for the 55th running of the Daytona 500 on Fox at 12 p.m. Eastern. So far, the story has been Danica. She has the best seat for Sunday's race. Does she have the best car? And it's a new car, some drivers with new combinations. We still have a lot more to come here on Speed. We've now joined John Roberts over at the Speed Stage. Thanks for dueling with us.
The field is now set for the 55th Daytona 500. Kyle Busch is one of 2 big winners, but along the way, we got some torn-up race cars and some crushed dreams. Stay with us, everyone. NASCAR Victory Lane, presented by DirecTV, starts right now. Welcome, everyone, once again to the Daytona International Speedway, where Speed Weeks are now in full swing. NASCAR Victory Lane Dual Edition, presented by DirecTV, is coming your way live right now. Good crowd out today on a beautiful afternoon. They saw Kevin Harvick win duel number 1, Kyle Busch win duel number 2, and they saw these new race cars in bigger packs, Kyle Petty. Not the biggest pack yet, but at least bigger packs, and we still learned a lot along the way.
Yeah, I think these guys learned something today. We saw some pretty solid racing and pretty solid racing. It's not great, so don't go crazy on everybody because the Gen 6 or these cars haven't had a great race yet. But it was a good race.
And here comes the big winner in duel number 2, Kyle Busch.
Congratulations, man.
Congratulations, sir. Have a seat. Let's talk about this thing if we get you wired up, right? There's his mic.
There we go.
You guys
Kyle,
are doing this live,
congratulations, man. Absolutely. As live as can be.
We got to get you out of here.
Yes.
That's all right.
You gotta go
You don't want. Why do you want to get me out of here?
You got to go celebrate, dude.
Yes,
Celebrate.
probably
I got
not
truck
as,
practice. I still got to work.
Got it.
probably not as chaotic as the race itself coming on here. But, Kyle, this racetrack can giveth, it can taketh away. It doesn't matter if it's points or not. A win at Daytona is huge.
It is, you know, and this is always a fun race for me. I like being able to win this race. It gives you a great starting spot come Sunday. But just to be able to win a race down in Daytona, I mean, last year we won the shootout, now the Sprint Unlimited, but it really didn't do anything for our season, you know. So hopefully this win here change things up a little bit, win the dual race, and be able to carry that momentum on here throughout the beginning part of the year.
You know, there's a lot been said about the new Toyotas and the new Fords and the new Chevys. What's the biggest thing on the racetrack that you notice as a driver?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, like, the last couple of years, the other cars were what you could bump each other. You could get to each other and push each other a little bit and all that. And this car here, you can't get to within the 4 feet of the guy in front of you. So it's a little bit harder to make moves and to see things go on that, being able to get 2 lanes going and being able to get things going on there. See, the problem that we're having for some reason is, like, once you get a lane going, and it seems like it's been being the top today, it's hard to break that momentum of that top lane. You know, guys try to go on the bottom. Even at the beginning of the race, you know, you see us double file for 2, 3, 4 laps, but then it kind of single files out to the top side, and anybody that tries the bottom, you can't go nowhere.
Well, Kyle, let's take a look at the highlights from duel number 2, which you just won moments ago here at Daytona. And, of course, this race was started on the pole by Jeff Gordon by way of his qualifying effort. He chose the high side of the racetrack to start out. And, Kyle, there was a little bit of strategy. Kyle Petty, rather. There's a little bit of strategy there.
That'll be confusing. There was a strategy in that because the top side was going, and the top side was going to be the lane that was going to do the advantage. And here I'm behind Jeff pushing him, you know, and then Casey, I think, finds his way up eventually. But then Casey makes a good move and makes me kind of force myself to the bottom a little bit, and he takes over second.
Here comes time to pit, and there was a little trouble getting on and off pit road. If you look back there, Ryan Newman's going for a spin back there, Kyle.
Yeah, Ryan Newman. Yeah, which one? Yeah, Ryan Newman goes for a spin here. It's like he was out in the middle of the racetrack, and at the last minute decides, oh, I need to pit. He makes the cut, and all of a sudden the 1 car's there, locks it up, goes into the wall, and at the same time, the 24 car of Jeff Gordon gets caught too fast entering pit road.
So here comes Kyle Busch. He is going to come around and take a victory in the duel number 2 here at Daytona. And Kyle, you said just a moment ago, this is more of a Kyle Busch, rather. This is
Let's do this every week.
We could really screw things up.
We could, and we try. More of a mental victory, though, for your team. It doesn't really do anything for the season points-wise, but it certainly does for morale.
Well, it certainly does that, you know, and like you said, it gives us a good starting spot for Sunday. We're able to now start in the 4th position, so that'll be really good for us. Obviously, here's the rundown. We've got Clint Boyer, who is a guy who came off pit road with myself, who finished 4th. Matt Kenseth, a great teammate today, being able to push me a little bit there. We were hoping that we could stay together and bring home a Joe Gibbs 1-2.
Back in the field, Kyle Petty, we look and we see that there were some guys there were a little bit nervous about making this thing in, but when Mike Bliss had the window net problem, it sort of sealed everybody's faith in terms of who was going to go home.
Yeah, there were a couple of guys. You know, Quapple and some of those guys, they were right there on the bubble, but I think if you go back to the first race, Brian Keselowski having a little bit of trouble, and then Bliss in this one. But I got a last question. I got another question here, I guess. How tough is it to win a race and being the master of the burnout, not being able to do anything?
Well, you could if you wanted to.
Yeah, but I saw you go down there, and it was nice, easy, right-hand corner.
Yeah, no, I just waved at the fans. Appreciate them being out here today. It was a really good crowd for the Budweiser Duels, and we appreciate their support. But just give them a little wave. You know, you can't – I mean, you could, but there's no sense in doing a burnout or anything like that. It's not really a race that is a points race or anything like that or pays the big bucks. But come Sunday, you know, you're able to win and come across that start-finish line first. We're burn that baby down.
Yeah, every lap you get in your new Toyota, Kyle, do you guys get your arms around it a little bit better, being that this is a totally new beast in this car?
You do. You know, every lap that you're able to make, and especially in a draft, you know, not a lot of guys are drafting in practice because they're scared to wreck these things. But our dual race went green all the way through. That was good to see. You know, no chaos there and no crash cars, so that was good. You know, but besides that, just being able to get some experience behind the wheel of these things and understand exactly what they're going to do and trying to figure out how and what to do to make that other lane go. You know, it seems like I said before, you can only get one lane going for some reason unless something else happens. I mean, I don't know what to do to make 2 lanes go, but we got to figure it out.
Well, Kyle Busch, congratulations on a great victory today. We're going to send you off to celebrate and have more fun, and great way to start off Speed Weeks.
Yeah, I got more work to do. We got truck practice later on. So
hardest working man in NASCAR.
Tundra is going to be pretty good later.
All right, thanks, Kyle.
You got it.
Busch, that is. Now, Kyle Petty, let's take a look at duel number 1 highlights, the first one, and that had some history in it, as Danica Patrick, not only is she the first woman to sit on the pole for the Daytona 500, also the first one to sit on the pole for a duel race as well. She gets a high five from Rutledge. That had to be good luck.
Yeah, hanging out with Rutledge is good luck. It's like a leprechaun. So, but obviously, she did exactly what she needed to do. You see here, at this point in time in the race, she's moved to the back of the pack. She stayed right on that yellow line. Everybody else kind of moved by her. But she fell in line with Tony a couple of times, and here we see T-Bane, where we've seen this 21 car of the Wood brothers go to the front.
And remember the way he performed in his first ever Daytona 500. He bought his time very well, and then at the end he was the winner. So he didn't really like what happened in this duel. We'll show you that in just a minute. But as Danica faded to the back of the pack, Trevor Bayne had a little trouble getting on pit road.
Yeah, pit road seemed to be an issue for some of these guys. You see he comes in, and I'm not sure. I think he thinks the 29 car is going to give him some room, and he doesn't. Kevin doesn't give him enough room. He runs off, gets his right front right off in the grass, and you see it pile up.
Here comes the big one. We expected to see it in this duel number 1, and here it happens. Guess who's involved this time? Once again, it's Carl Edwards in the 99 after Denny Hamlin got loose.
Yeah, Denny seemed to come up off the corner, and you see the 99 car right there under him, but Denny, from another angle that we saw during the race, Denny kind of comes off, the car gets loose, and it almost just takes off, like we've seen the cars down here. Comes back across the racetrack and collects the 99 and a couple other guys.
But here comes Kevin Harvick in his Chevrolet as he comes around to win his first career duel and also start the season off with crew chief Gil Martin in a great way by winning not only the Unlimited, but also a duel, and therefore he will have a great starting position in the Daytona 500, a race in which he has won before. And then Scott Speed was able to race his way in. If you take a look at how close this margin is for him to get in, we'll talk about that in just a moment, exactly how he got in, because it was somebody else's misfortune. Kevin Harvick, Greg Biffle, and Juan Pablo Montoya, Jimmy Johnson, and Kurt Busch round out your top 5.
Yeah, and I think as you go back through here, you remember Dale Jr. had to start at the very back of the pack with an engine change and race his way up into it. We see Bobby Labonte, who had a great race, David Gilliland, who had a great race, Joe Nemechek, Michael Waltrip, Scott Speed, David Ruderman. Those guys were racing for that transfer position on the very last lap of this race.
Danica Patrick hung around at the back by design, but it was Brian Keselowski who was not able to make it in to the Daytona 500. Trevor Bayne with the wreck was last. Let's now go to Kenny Wallace, who is with winner in duel number 1, Kevin Harvick.
Thank you, Johnny. We are here with Kevin Harvick, winner of the first Bud Duel 150. Now, Kevin, I mean, this is no luck. You have won with 2 different cars. The other car in the first Sprint Unlimited, now you've won with another car. You must be really strong.
Well, I'm pretty proud of my guys. Everybody at RCR Racing and everybody on our Budweiser Chevrolet has done a great job in preparing 2 different cars, and we didn't qualify like we wanted to, but that didn't really matter because our cars have raced really good. So that gets us a good starting spot for the Daytona 500, and looking forward to Sunday.
Okay, now I'm going to make you nervous, but we have to do this. This is incredible. There have been only 13 drivers in the history of NASCAR to win the Sprint Unlimited and, you know, the Bud Duel. Only 13. Nobody has ever won the Triple Crown.
Oh, man.
What are your chances of winning this 500 and just taking down and writing new stats?
Well, records are meant to be broken, right? So, you know, the biggest thing about this week, and I've been on both sides of it, we've torn a lot of race cars up and ran terrible and ran great. But you have to maintain even keel attitude about approaching the whole week, and we have to relax the next couple of days and go into Sunday with a fresh, rested state of mind and be able to come out and put yourself in position at the end of the race.
So when we started this race, not just this race, but the Sprint Unlimited, you take your 7-month-old baby Keelan, put him in the race car, and the kid doesn't even cry. I mean, is this our new good luck charm? You're already getting him ready to race.
I hope so, because I love having him and Delaney at the racetrack. It you know, really makes me relaxed. After the day, you can come in and see that smiling face. And so, yeah, I mean, his car right here, he loves to hold on to the steering wheel. So he gets in the race car, and he'll just jump right up on that steering wheel and stand up and like standing there. And maybe, I don't know if he likes the shade or just likes to hang out.
You know, it was really easy for me to end your interview because you're sitting here. What are you doing sitting outside?
I'm still sitting outside in my suit. I probably look like I'm supposed to be at a dirt track, right? I should be eating at the local Jimmy John's about 2 in the morning. So, no, when that sign is on the door over there, that means Keelan's in bed. And I know how hard it is to get him to sleep and stay asleep. So I'm sitting outside, and I've drank a couple of Budweisers, and I've got my shoes off and my feet propped up on his toys because I don't want to wake him up. So I'm just sitting out here waiting for him to wake up.
And so, see, this is what I love about our sport. You're at home thinking he's some type of prima donna. He can't even go in the bus.
I'm not in charge. I'm not in charge. I'm merely just along for the ride.
He can't even go in his own motorhome because his baby's sleeping. Kevin, congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome. Back to you, Johnny.
Kenny, there have been 4 big trophies handed out so far in Speed Weeks, and Kevin Harvick has claimed 2 of them. We got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will tell you how this Daytona 500 is going to look and who has a chance to win. Stay with us. NASCAR Victory Lane is presented by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Brought to you in part by Toyota. Let's go places. And by Sonic. The all-new foot-long lineup is from Sonic and is here. Get one with tots for just $3.99. Welcome back, everyone, to NASCAR Live, which is presented by DirecTV. The racetrack at Daytona is quiet right now, but that was not the case earlier today. Strange things can happen, as we see in our Toyota news update. Take a look at the number 56 car of Martin Truex Jr. His window comes off of the right side of the race car during duel number 1. And actually, while this was misfortune for Martin Truex Jr. and his number 56 Toyota, it was actually good news for another driver in the field. And as our Toyota news update continues, let's go to Bob for more. Bob?
Well, what happened with the window on Martin Truex Jr.'s car had nothing to do with the window itself. Here's their qualifying window that they used on this machine. It basically slides right in here behind this flap and gets stayed right there on the body. But the thing that happened during the duel here is this clip goes right behind here. And as you can see, this bracket for the window broke on the final lap. That was the problem. In fact, down below here, the lower bracket, it started to come loose a little bit because this metal got weak. Now, Michael Waltrip Racing, some of the team members told me they noticed this on the other 2 cars in the Michael Waltrip Racing team. So what they did on them right before the duel is this piece right here, they had reinforced it with some steel right behind this piece here to try to hold this more into place. They're going to do this with Michael Waltrip's car as well for the 56 of Martin Truex Jr., but that was the problem. This right here for the window bracket broke, and Martin and I have been texting back and forth. He said the turbulence between these cars was incredible. Kenny Wallace has caught up with Martin Truex.
Thanks, Bob. We are here with Martin Truex. Now, Martin, you ran really strong in that Toyota Camry, but you come across the start-finish line in 6th, but they scored you 19th. Tell us everything that went down with that.
Yeah, the right side window had come loose somewhere in the middle of the race, and it was kind of banging around a bunch. And lo and behold, it waited till the very last lap to come out. So we, like I said, we finished 6th. Our Napa Toyota ran really good. Car handled great all day, and it really has all weekend long. So that's something that's definitely on our side for the race. But unfortunate, we're going to have to start weighing them back now because of that. But, it is what it is. We got posted on the last lap by NASCAR, and we obviously didn't have time to come in and serve our penalty and fix the window. So just an unfortunate deal, but we'll get out and practice hard tomorrow and get ready for Sunday.
Well, you got a really strong car. You had a great day, but a bad day at the end, and there's nothing better than having your dog. Here's your dog. He loves you, so does that make you feel better?
Makes me feel better. He don't care where we finish.
That's awesome. All righty, Bobby, back to you, Bob Dillner.
Well, Carl Edwards had a problem with his right side window the other night in the Sprint Unlimited. He wrecked today in the duel, so this is the car that he will run in the Daytona 500, his Sprint Unlimited car. And because of that, the team is already working on making sure this is reinforced so that this window does not pop out once again. And I'll tell you what, they are taking and putting pieces behind this flap here as well as right here, right where the clip attaches to this window bracket to reinforce it so that the window does not pop out. But a lot of people in this garage area, Kyle, are talking about that turbulence in the side draft on the race car, both on the right side and the left side. And remember, we saw Mike Bliss's window net fall down in the middle of the duel as well. So a lot of turbulence with these new race cars.
Yeah, and Bob's exactly right. And those are two great examples as we look at Martin Truex's car and at the 99 that had it in the unlimited practice or in the unlimited race. The problem is when these things get to vibrating like that, you think you're thick enough. You think you've got enough weight there. You think you've got enough bracing, and you don't. And it shows up. And that's something new and seems to be new to this car is that side buffering. We heard Kyle Busch talk about it a minute ago. You can't get close to somebody. The cars are buffered around. And I think when you look at it, we've seen 2 windows and 1 window net. That's amazing with the caliber of teams, the Roush organization and the Michael Waltrip Racing, that we're having those problems. So I'm sure everybody in the garage area will go back and look at that. When we look at the windows coming out, and especially on the Martin Truex issue right there, I think, Johnny, that helped somebody else get in the race.
It certainly did. It was Martin Truex's misfortune because he was unable to honor the black flag from NASCAR. He was put to the back. Therefore, Scott Speed went from 16th to 15th and from out of the Daytona 500 to in the Great American Race. We got to take a quick break here, but we have 2 big winners celebrating today. Kevin Harvick won duel number 1, and that's his 2nd win of Speed Weeks, but also Kyle Busch is back in victory lane. He'll take a win whether it's for points or not. We'll be back with more victory lane in just a moment. You got to be fast at Daytona, but sometimes you need a break, and that brings us to our AT&T race break. This time it was for Scott Speed. At this point, when he crosses the start-finish line, they were not in the Daytona 500, but after Martin Truex got black flagged, that finishing position was enough to put Scott Speed into the Daytona 500. He's very happy about that. After the race, he spoke with Hermie Sadler.
Awesome. I mean, I think we have a really good car. We were really good the first part of the race, and we kind of blew a pit stop. And then it kind of put us in the back, and then it was hard with no one behind us, with no help. It was difficult to go anywhere, but we're in. That's good. I think we're going to have a solid car for the 500.
And you know, Kyle, he is one of those stories. They came down there with somewhat of an underfunded team. That is not a bad race team by any stretch of the imagination, and Scott Speed is a very good driver. But still, they were a long shot somewhat to make this thing. They could be heading home.
Yeah, they could be heading home. And I think there's a lot of guys like that. You look at Travis Kvapil, you look at David Reagan, you look at those guys. They come down here on a hope and a promise sometimes just because they're underfunded. They're winning race car drivers. Scott Speed does a tremendous job to get this car in a lot of different races. But as we look here on the screen, there's Joe Nemechek. There's the 95 of Scott Speed. There's the 83 of Travis Kvapil. These cars, 4 or 5 of those cars right there are racing on the last lap to get into the Daytona 500. That's a lot of pressure on a team.
And a matter of a couple feet means a difference of about $250,000 when it comes to race day for one of these underfunded teams. Let's set the field for the Daytona 500. We knew Danica Patrick and Jeff Gordon would start in row number 1, but now we have Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch behind them.
Yeah, the front row stays intact. For all of you Danica fans out there, the front row stays intact. But I'm going to tell you, as we look through this thing, great run by Juan Pablo, great run by Austin Dillon. I think those are the 2 surprises to me that are in that top 3 or 4 rows.
And the Ford of Greg Biffle and the Chevy of Casey Kane up there as well. Former Daytona 500 winner Jimmy Johnson inside of row number 5 in the 9th position. There's Tony Stewart, Mark Martin, Brad Keselowski, and Paul Menard round out your first 8 rows. And Tony Stewart wants this win about as bad as anybody does. Dale Earnhardt Jr. starting in the 19th spot. Won't take long for him to get up front.
It's not. We saw him drive to the front in the 150 that he was in. We see Casey Mears there. Just before the race, they learned that Geico was back not only for this year, the whole season, but all of the next couple of seasons. Great run for Jeff Burton and those guys as we see Bobby Labonte there in the 23rd position.
Great news for Casey Mears and Booty Barker and that team to be around. They're also solidly in the field of the 500. Don't ever count out Michael Waltrip. He, of course, is racing for a great cause, but he's a great drafter as well.
Yeah, and Michael was up to like 3rd or 4th with 2 or 3 laps to go and ended up back there right at the transfer spot at 14th or 15th. But Michael can take a shoebox and get it to the front at Daytona.
Denny Hamlin and Carl Edwards were involved in that melee, so they will be starting way in the back of the field with Terry Labonte, J.J. Yaley, and Michael McDowell, the last of the 43 starters. But remember, KP, it's the Daytona 500. You can come from the back to the front, and you certainly can have a Cinderella winner in this thing. Scott Speed is very excited to be in this race, and he will be in there solidly on Sunday as he had a little bit of luck come his way, but also speed as well. Back with more Victory Lane in a moment. Tomorrow, the world's toughest truckers hit the high banks for the can't-miss trucks race of the year. Strap in for 250 miles of wide-open racing and a fight to the finish. That's sure to take your breath away. Don't miss the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series from Daytona tomorrow at 7 Eastern, live on Speed. Well, there's a nice quiet at the Daytona International Speedway right now. We had two great races today under beautiful weather as well. But we did, Kyle Petty, have the big one. It happened in duel number 1, and there were several drivers that were victims of that big one. But first of all, let's check in on Twitterville with Martin Truex Jr. Said, really wish the darn thing fell out earlier so we could have fixed it, meaning, of course, his right side passenger window. They didn't have time to respond to the black flag.
No, and you're exactly right. I mean, you saw the thing, you just barely see it come out, and it goes way out of sight. But when something happens early, you always feel like you can recover. In the last 45 laps, you're dead.
So that was a very bad break for Martin Truex and company, a very good break for Scott Speed and the number 95 team. His wife, Amanda, says, OMG, I'm in tears. Think the 56 was black flag, so we're in. I'm going crazy. 3 times OMG. And of course, they should be happy because it makes a big difference making this race as opposed to going home. It means big time money for a team like that. You can join the conversation and get all kinds of information that you need about NASCAR racing on speed.com. Text Moto to Speed3 or 77333. That is speed.com, all you need to know. Now let's take a look at the big one, KP. This was duel number 1, and it involved a couple of cars that have already had some trouble thus far in this Speed Weeks. But here comes Denny Hamlin, just seems to get arrow loose.
Yeah, and right there, he comes up off the corner, and the thing really almost jumps to the right. He corrects, and it really takes off to the right. It starts right about here. He gets free right here, and the thing bobbles a little bit. Then he comes back across. It's very subtle. You can't see it from this far away, but as you see it, collects Trevor Bayne, collects the 99 of Carl Edwards.
Great bit of luck of Dale Jr. to get through there unscathed at full speed, but the 99 of Carl Edwards in his Ford, once again, Kyle, gets the worst end of it.
Yeah, Carl has been in the wrong place at the wrong time in 2 or 3 different accidents down here, and that accident right there, you see. Watch the 11 car right here. This is our last look. You see him kind of start down the racetrack, start back up the racetrack, and then boom, the thing turns around. He's in the 99, and that's their big wreck.
Let's hear what driver number 11, Denny Hamlin, had to say about the wreck.
I think we had a 5-car pack, and we were starting to catch the leaders, and I know that we came up on, I think it was the 13 and the 99, and I think they were trying to figure a way to keep us back there and keep us from stop our momentum, and we all had a big head of steam up top, but the 99 just came up a hair, and I came down a little bit, and really once I got to his right rear, I got loose and obviously turned him and got the 21 involved, but it's a tough deal. Really, I had what I thought was one of the tightest cars out there. It was handling really well, and it just shows you any kind of bad aero position you put yourself in, your car can be vulnerable.
Don't know exactly what happened. It looked like Denny got sideways and wrecked us. That's the fourth time we've wrecked since we've been down here. So I was telling Jimmy, we wrecked 4 times. We've had the black flag already. The race hasn't even started. So we're getting it out of our systems. Fortunately, we've got a really good group of guys. We've got a good backup car, which is our shootout car. We'll just come get them in the 500. I learned a lot.
We were catching the lead pack by about a half a second a lap by staying in line. We caught Carl and somebody else there at the end, and once we caught them, it seemed like Denny's car got really loose up out of turn 2. I wasn't close to pushing him or anything. He just got really sideways, and once he turned, he clipped Carl in the right rear, spun him in front of us, right, nowhere to go. It's really unfortunate, man, because we had a fast race car. You don't ever want to tear that kind of stuff up.
And that means a lot of extra work for these drivers and teams to get these cars put back together or get the backups out, as the case may be for some of them. But for more on the number 11 car, let's go to Bob Dillner.
Well, talking to Denny Hamlin's spotter, Chris Lambert, basically they debriefed afterwards, and they said it's that side turbulence. But you take a look at this. This is the crash cart for the FedEx number 11 team. You see all the fenders and so forth here. Well, they're really having to do some repairs on the front end of this machine right now. They put on an entire new nose piece, and they're going to put on a left front fender on Denny Hamlin's car. They want to preserve this car because they want to start and have a very good car for the Daytona 500. And you can see that great there, that template at the front of that machine. That is the template so they can meet all the points so that when they go through tech for the NASCAR process before the Daytona 500. It's completely legal. So a lot of work down here by a bunch of body scientists, so to speak, putting that nose piece and that fender back on Denny Hamlin's machine.
And Bob, you're right. That is very important for them to preserve that race car, because KP, if they go to the backup, they go to the back of the field, and sometimes that's where the trouble happens at the beginning of the 500.
And we heard Denny say, I really like this car. I liked it. I felt like I had one of the tightest cars here, which means he was comfortable chassis-wise. He just got in a bad place aero-wise. And you know what? To be honest with you, I'm about tired of talking aero all the time, and that seems to be the issue here. These guys are locked in with spring rules and locked in with shock rules in the rear. These cars are getting loose. Their hands are tied. They can't fix them because they can't go outside those boundaries. And it's just like these bodies. These bodies have to be in a certain boundary. These guys are artists that do these things. This is really amazing to be able to look in for the fans at home to see that template and see how these cars are built back at the shop, because they have to come to Daytona and build them exactly like they build them back at the shop to get through that template room.
KP, here's a question for you. What is more dangerous than Kenny Wallace unsupervised?
Kenny Wallace unsupervised? Kenny Wallace just out wandering around by himself is the most dangerous thing in the world.
Yeah, Kenny Wallace, yep, Kenny Wallace unsupervised in the coach lot. Let's go to Kenny.
Thanks, gang. You know, I'm just chilling out here, and I found the owner of the Eldora Speedway where the Midsummer Classic's going to take place. You know, the big truck race on speed, and so promoter. I came all the way here to the RV area, and how'd your day go for you?
It's actually the Mudsummer Classic, not the Midsummer Classic. So, no, it was good. It was, we got 2 of the 3 in there without a scratch, and the other one's been hit on all 4 corners at some point in the last 24 hours. So, pretty excited to at least be through the day now. Now we can focus on Sunday.
We're having a good time. Everybody knows Tony is a Daytona 500 winner, a champion. He let me climb up the top of his new motor. What do you say now?
I'm not a Daytona 500 winner, just so you know. I'm an aspiring Daytona 500 winner, but I'm not a Daytona 500 winner yet.
Yeah, but doesn't it sound good that I've already claimed you the 500 winner?
I gladly accept your nomination. Now we just got to go out and do it. So, but I'm just hanging out here in my new motor coach here that looks like a semi.
All right, gang. That's the best I can do. Champion interviewer in his motorhome.
I'm just surprised that Tony didn't let Kenny in. I don't know why.
Oh, I know why.
You don't want to be stuck with him?
We know why. We know why. Once Kenny comes in, he never leaves.
Exactly. But sometimes we don't really want Kenny to leave. We got to take a quick break here on NASCAR Victory Lane, which is presented by DirecTV. We are ready to wrap things up here from Daytona and get ready for the 500. Stay with us, everyone.
3 days. 3 days. 3 days left until the Daytona 500. I'm ready. Are you?
The race may have been a day late, but Matt Kenseth was right on time at the finish line. He won the only primetime televised Daytona 500 under the lights, and that's a part of his past he certainly would like to relive. Here's Bob.
Matt Kenseth, a very strong car in duel number 2. What did you learn today that you can apply to the 500?
Well, I feel like we learned a little bit. Again, kind of a disappointing end. I feel like I couldn't get my car exactly in the right spot, but Kyle and I were going pretty quick, and I saw the 5 backing up, getting a run, but just didn't. I didn't know what to do with that. You know, I guess I should have worked a little harder to stay in front of him. So I just felt like I was kind of in a bad spot and didn't end up making the right moves. But overall, I feel like our Dollar General Camry is really fast, got a lot of speed. We got a little bit of handling to work on. I thought Jason made a great call. I feel like there's a lot of positives going out from today, and you know, hopefully we'll do the right things on Sunday when it really counts.
Is the drafting evolving a little bit? You guys learning how to draft again with these brand new race cars?
I don't know. It wasn't much different than it was Saturday, to be honest with you. So, I mean, I think you're going to try to work on make sure your car handles when you get all the cars out there and you get into a 500-mile race. And you know, go out there and try to make the right moves. It's certainly different. I think everybody figures it out pretty quick, though.
You know, you and the 27 almost got together there out there. You know, is it a situation where it's tough to tell when somebody's right there on your corner?
No, not really. That was just dumb by me again. I'm glad I didn't hit him or cause a wreck. But I was just I just didn't make up my mind quick enough. You know, everybody's scared to get off the top because they think they're going to get shuffled out. And I saw him starting to make a run. I looked back and he was down there, and I just was making a real tentative move. I decided I was going to go to the bottom, but I didn't
didn't make a firm decision and go to the bottom, you know, so I was plenty clear when I started moving, and I was kind of like, should I go to the bottom or shouldn't I go to the bottom? And then, you know, by that time, he was already underneath me, so that was just wasn't thinking fast enough for me.
Bottom line is Matt Kenseth has one of the best cars heading into the 500.
Bob, thanks. All of the aerial coverage from Daytona Speed Weeks is provided by DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. And KP, no matter how you look at this racetrack, it just looks cool. It just looks good.
It's incredible. You know, the King talks about coming through the tunnel for the first time and seeing this place. He's 75 years old, still feels the same way. I think every driver that races here wants to win here and wants to do good here. This is where, no matter what you do, you want to do it in Daytona.
The work continues in the Sprint Cup Series garage area. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll tell you what to watch for in the Daytona 500. NASCAR Victory Lane is presented by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Brought to you in part by Bass Pro Shops. Your adventure starts here. And by Sprint. Millions of fans, one family. Only Sprint can feed them all. Join the family at sprint.com/speed. Let's take another look at the first page of the grid for the Daytona 500, the 55th running of this great American race. You see, one of the potential favorites to win this race, Casey Kane, will start outside of row number 3. Bob Dillner is with the driver of the number 5 Chevrolet.
Hendrick car is always strong at Daytona, but I guess today was a learning lesson for all of you. So how much did you learn, and what was it that you learned?
Well, I feel like we've been learning since the sprint race Saturday night, and we made some gains for this afternoon's race. Felt really confident and solid with the car there. We had one pit stop and the guys nailed it on pit road, so that was awesome. And we have 2 more days to try to get a little better for the 500. But I feel like our Farmers Insurance Chevrolet is very close. We're going to be in the hunt at this point. And, if we could hit on one more thing or something, we'd be really fast.
What's that one more thing? Where do you need to be a little bit better?
Well, I mean, you can always just, when you're sucking up to the car in front of you, if it slows you down the closer you get to it. And from where we were on Saturday to where we are now, that's the amount that it slows us down is way less. So if we can just get even less of that, I'd be really happy. But, these guys are doing an awesome job. Hendrick engines are so strong, and our car is fast. So it's been a great team effort to this point. Was this the calm before the storm in the 500? I'd say so. I mean, running with 20 cars, then you get separated to 10 and 8 and 6. It's tough to make those passes, and we were still able to move around pretty well. So I'd say definitely the calm before the storm.
Kane looking pretty good.
Yeah, Bobby's certainly looking good. Certainly a candidate to win this race, but he's got it right, Kyle. You're going to have 43 cars out there in the pack coming up.
43 horses out there. The fastest horse doesn't always win this race, but here's the thing. These guys have worked all winter long to get to the Daytona 500. Now we know what the Daytona 500 field is set, and we're going to see who can take it.
Now it is time to go racing for points for real at the Daytona 500. But coming up next on Speed, it's NASCAR Camping World Truck Series final practice. So let's send it up to the broadcast booth with Rick Allen and company.